Chapter 1857. Simulation Technique, Part 2. At this moment, there were only 8 words in Lin Yi's mind. Continuous, carefree and unrestrained. Lin Yi practiced this technique for a full half an hour before slowly stopping. At this moment, Lin Yi understood that he had finally mastered this technique. As for how he mastered it, he could only ask Jiao Lao. Lin Yi himself was at a loss. Lin Yi let out a long breath and suddenly realized that there were a few more people around him. Because he was in his own yard, and because he was so excited, he didn't pay attention to the things around him. It wasn't until he finished the skill that he realized there was someone beside him. He was slightly startled. He had been careless. Although Lin Yi's name was like the sun in the sky, and no one would dare to challenge him, there was always a possibility. What if an enemy showed up? What if an enemy ambushed him while he was practicing the technique? Although the possibility of an ambush was very small under such a domineering technique, it was better to be careful. Yao Yao Shu, Faubert, Chen, you're back. Lin Yi had just finished speaking when he realized that the 4 of them were looking at him with shock and disbelief. It was as if he had done something amazing. Shield bro, are you practicing the technique that killed the 3 Earth-class masters that day? Yu Shu asked. You've mastered the 3 forms of Frenzy Fist? Faubert was very surprised. You used this technique against the 3 Earth-class masters that day? Although they had heard that Lin Yi had killed 3 Earth-class masters in one hit, Lin Yi didn't say how he did it. Uncle Fu and the others were curious, but they didn't ask. Only now did they open their mouths to ask. Uncle Fu, you're the one who taught me these 3 styles. You should know how powerful they are. Is it possible to kill 3 Earth-class masters in one move and burn them to ashes? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I don't think so. Faubert shook his head. But the power I used back then wasn't as great as yours. Although I'm familiar with it, it's still lacking compared to you. Ah! Lin Yi heard Faubert's words. He actually surpassed Faubert back then? Why did it sound so funny? One had to know that Lin Yi wasn't even familiar with it before today. I'm ashamed. I've trained for many years, but I can't compare to you who's trained for a few months. Uncle Fu blushed with shame as he said, but Master was able to use the 20th form of the Frenzied Fire Fist. It wasn't difficult for him to instantly kill 3 Earth rank experts. Actually, I only practiced for an afternoon. Lin Yi scratched his head, a little embarrassed. Hiss. Faubert sucked in a breath of cold air. An afternoon? He knew that Lin Yi wouldn't lie to him, so it was only natural that he'd said he'd spent the whole afternoon. But Lin Yi being able to learn the first 3 forms of the Frenzy Fist in a single afternoon was the only word Li Fu could use to describe Lin Yi as a genius. What happened to you is way too strange. You were able to repair both Mai and Chen meridians, so it's not strange at all that you spent the whole afternoon learning the Frenzy Fist. Lin Yi himself didn't know what was going on. Could this be the legendary sudden enlightenment? But Lin Yi was full of anticipation for the last few forms of Frenzy Fist. The 20th form could kill 3 Earth-class masters with one move. Wasn't that what Lin Yi was looking forward to? So Lin Yi quickly asked, Faubert, do you have the last few forms of Frenzy Fist? I only have the first 10 forms. The 11th form is something only Sky-class masters can use. I didn't memorize the chant at the time, Faubert said. Lin Yi blinked. Then what's your master's level? Sky class, Faubert said. Cough. Lin Yi almost choked at Faubert's words. A Sky class master killing 3 Earth class masters with one move wasn't something to be shocked about, was it? This made Lin Yi a little disappointed. How could there be such a thing in this world? If someone of the same level could kill 3 in one move, wouldn't that make them invincible? Actually, before I met you, I really didn't know which practitioner it was, but to be able to kill 3 practitioners. Uncle Fu smiled bitterly. Actually, for a Sky class, if it's a Sky class early stage, wanting to kill 3 Earth class is a very difficult thing, not to mention 1 Earth class late stage. That day it was an accident. Lin Yi didn't hide anything from Faubert and the others. They were his people, and they wouldn't harm him. I forced out all the fire poison chi from my body and used it to burn 3 Earth-class masters to death. It wasn't any martial arts technique. I see. Faubert and Chen nodded. They had been wondering how Lin Yi could kill 3 stronger Earth-class masters in one hit, even though he was only an early-stage Earth-class. Shield Bro is the best. He actually knows how to make use of trash, Yushu said. Meng Yao was speechless as well. If Lin Yi didn't make use of trash, would they be able to escape? However, after activating the 3 forms of Frenzy Fist, Lin Yi felt an indescribable tiredness. He didn't feel anything when he activated it, but now that he stopped, he felt as if half of his chi had been used up. It wasn't enough to affect his movements, but he was really tired. Faubert, does this Frenzy Fist use up a lot of chi? Lin Yi asked. Naturally. Faubert paused after hearing Lin Yi's words, but remembered that Lin Yi didn't even know martial arts techniques. But it's not that Frenzy Fist uses up a lot of chi, it's that all martial arts techniques use up a lot of chi. The higher the level of the technique, the more so it is. Even in a battle between masters, they can't use martial arts without limit. Otherwise, they'll die of exhaustion before they kill the enemy. I see. Lin Yi nodded. However, the chi used up by martial arts techniques is very easy to replenish. It's different from other ways of using chi. Faubert said. Although martial arts techniques require a large amount of chi to activate, it doesn't completely release the chi after using it. A part of it is converted into other ways of staying in the body. As long as you rest, it can be converted into chi again. It's that magical? Lin Yi was surprised. But thinking about it, it made sense. If it was really hard to recover, who would use martial arts techniques in the first place? It wouldn't be worth it if all the hard work they put into training was gone. Chapter 1858. It's not really magical. These are all basic knowledge that all cultivators know. As for a freak like you, there are very few people who don't know about your strength. Faubert smiled bitterly and shook his head. Lin Yi was slightly embarrassed. Indeed, his master had left a long time ago. Although old Lin had cultivated an internal mental cultivation technique, it was only a supplementary mental cultivation technique, not to mention any martial techniques. The only person who could guide him in the path of martial arts, Xianxia, was an illusory body with incomplete memories. Often, his memories were incomplete and he had to recover them. This made Lin Yi feel very bitter. Then, starting from the 11th form of the Frenzied Fire Fist, I am unable to activate the remaining 10 forms. Is it because I do not have enough true chi in my body? My strength hasn't reached that level, so I can't provide the corresponding amount of true chi to activate the martial skill? Lin Yi asked. You could say that. However, that is not entirely the case. If you exhaust all the true chi in your body, you should still be able to use the next move. However, that is usually a method to save your life in a life or death situation. Faubert said, because the Zhen Qi required to activate the next move is not something that my current strength can withstand. After activating it, not only will my entire body enter a very weak state, it will also be impossible for my Zhen Qi to recover completely. This is because the method that the next move will transform into will not be converted back by the current level of the inner force cultivation method. In other words, it will drop a level. But at this point, Faubert looked at Lin Yi with astonishment and envy. What's wrong? Lin Yi was a little creeped out by Faubert's stare. Theoretically speaking, you should have fainted. Faubert smiled bitterly and said, it's normal for an early Earth class to be able to use the first form of the Frenzy Fist. At best, they might be able to use the second form, but the third form. That's something that can only be done by a peak early Earth class. He hasn't fainted yet. So, the theory I mentioned earlier, maybe it doesn't apply to you. Actually, I'm a little tired too. Lin Yi sweated. Could this be the effect of the art of dragon mastery? Although Lin Yi felt that he had consumed a lot of true chi, he did not feel tired and powerless. Faubert was speechless. At night, before Lin Yi entered the space of the jade pendant to cultivate, he couldn't wait to report what had happened today. He told it to Zhao Yazi. Zhao Lao, am I a genius? Lin Yi asked after recounting his strange encounter today. He added another sentence in a very arrogant manner. Uft. Zhao Lao was about to explain when he burst out laughing. I say, little Lin, aren't you a little too smug? Some geniuses cultivated the art of dragon mastery for 10 years. You haven't even completed the first level? Ah! Lin Yi was a little embarrassed. I was just saying. Today, when I was practicing the Frenzied Flame Fist, It was as smooth as flowing water. There wasn't any sense of obstruction. This feeling is as if the frenzied flame fist was tailor-made for me. That's true, but not exactly. To be precise, it's tailor-made for you to practice the frenzied flame fist. Zhao Yazi said. What does that mean? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He asked. During this time, my memory has slowly recovered. Although it's not complete, it's enough to answer some of your questions. Zhao Yazi said. Do you have any questions? Didn't I ask before? Lin Yi said. Oh, you're talking about practicing martial arts. That's normal. Zhao Yazi nodded and explained. The art of dragon mastery can produce all-purpose true qi. In other words, the art of dragon mastery is an all-purpose mental cultivation method. In terms of martial arts practice, you can practice any martial arts. So, it's not that the martial arts are tailor-made for you, but you tailor-made for the martial arts. Ah, it can't be? Lin Yi was shocked after hearing it, but he was also ecstatic. Doesn't that mean that I can practice whatever martial arts is powerful, and I don't have to worry about finding a martial arts that matches my mental cultivation method? That's it. Zhao Yazi nodded. Now you know the benefits of the art of dragon mastery, right? Then, why can't I practice it before? After Lin Yi calmed down, he had some doubts. I've practiced the frenzied flame fist countless times before, but I've never practiced it skillfully. It's always very jerky. That's because you didn't practice martial arts and the second level of the art of dragon mastery. You can't do without either. Zhao Yazi said. The first level of the art of dragon mastery is only applicable before the earth rank, which is the so-called foundation building stage. For practitioners, the stage before the earth rank is the stage to build the foundation. Only when you reach the earth rank can you practice martial arts. This is a turning point. I see. Lin Yi suddenly understood. In other words, practicing the second level of the art of dragon mastery is the mental cultivation method that matches with martial arts? You can say that. However, although the mental cultivation method is an all-purpose mental cultivation method, it can only be converted into all-purpose vital energy. If you want to practice martial arts, you need to convert the mental cultivation method into a corresponding mental cultivation method that matches with other martial arts. So, you need another conversion mantra. Zhao Yazi said. Is it that martial art? Lin Yi thought of the martial art that he brought out from the cave. That's right. That martial art can also be called an all-purpose martial art. As long as you practice this all-purpose martial art, no matter what martial arts you practice, you can automatically convert your mental cultivation method into the most suitable mental cultivation method for that martial art. Then, you can bring out the greatest effect of the martial art. Zhao Yazi said. This is also the reason why you are more powerful than the original owner of the martial art. Because, although their mental cultivation method has been tempered and matched for a long time, it can't be automatically converted. This is too heaven-defying. Hearing Zhao Yazi's words, Lin Yi could only describe his current feelings with these few words. This was such a powerful martial art. Previously, Lin Yi thought that it was a useless mental cultivation method. He didn't expect it to be so powerful. After a while, Lin Yi let out a long sigh. In other words, not only could he use the frenzy fist, as long as he had the corresponding martial art manual, he could practice it. Thinking of this, Lin Yi felt his blood boiling. It's not heaven-defying, but little Lin, I have to remind you of an old saying. A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Don't think that you're invincible just because you've practiced a lot of martial arts. It's not easy to master even one of the powerful martial arts. Elder Jiao said in a serious tone, Today, you were able to use the 3 forms of the frenzy fist so quickly. It may seem like it's because of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery and the omnipotent technique, but isn't it also the result of thousands of times you've practiced in your mind? If you didn't have these hundreds and thousands of times of practice, how could you activate it without any hindrance? You need some time to familiarize yourself with the chant, right? Chapter 1859. Jiao Lao, you are right. Lin Yi nodded solemnly. He was so shocked that he started sweating. Just now, for a moment, Lin Yi had the feeling that he was the best in the world. But now that he thought about it, it was an abnormal sense of confidence. If it wasn't for Zhao Yazi's timely reminder, he might have gone down the wrong path. If one were to blindly pursue learning more martial techniques, One might not even know which martial technique to use when facing an enemy. If one were to think too much and waste time, one would have long been beaten to the ground by the enemy. Hee, I was just saying. It's good that you remember it. Zhao Yazi nodded. Oh right, last time how did I go mad? After Lin Yi recovered, he was busy practicing and didn't have time to ask about it. You still don't know? Zhao Yazi was startled. I don't know either. You don't know either? Lin Yi was even more surprised. After I fainted, what happened you don't know? I don't know. My connection with the outside world is through you. You were unconscious. How would I know what happened? Zhao Yazi shook his head. Plus, only when you and I are actively connected, can I sense what's happening outside. Other times, I am closed off. Looks like I can only ask Shu and the others. After Lin Yi woke up, he asked Yao Yao and Shu about his cultivation going mad. But they simply told him what happened. Under old Lin's guidance, they went to Snowy Valley to ask for an ice spirit fruit. As for the process, they didn't go into details. Mrs. Personality was like this. No matter how much she paid, she wouldn't show it off. Lin Yi knew that although the ice spirit fruit wasn't as important as the Ice Palace's fire spirit fruit, they must have paid a great price for it. It was just that the eldest miss was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She was unwilling to take credit. What made Lin Yi feel strange was that even though Missy didn't say anything, little Shu didn't say anything either. She didn't use her gossipy eloquence to tell him what happened. Lin Yi thought that perhaps it was because the eldest miss had given her a gag order. There's no need for that. Tell me what you did before you went berserk. I think something went wrong somewhere. Zhao Yazi said. All right. Lin Yi nodded and told Zhao Yazi everything that happened before he went berserk. After listening to Lin Yi's words, Zhao Yazi sighed speechlessly. What's wrong? Lin Yi was puzzled by Zhao Yazi's behavior. Brat Lin, what do you mean by haste makes waste? How many times have I said it before? A tall building starts from the ground, but you actually used another medicine to replace the body-refining medicine. It would be strange if you didn't go berserk. Zhao Yazi smiled bitterly. How can the resting grass be replaced so easily? That's the key to calming the mind. But you replaced it, so it can't do the same. Isn't it normal to go berserk? This. Lin Yi's face instantly turned red. Before, he didn't ask Zhao Yazi for advice. He used his own knowledge of medicine to replace one of the ingredients, but the result was unexpected. 5 years. Why did I give you a 5-year limit? I'm afraid that you're too young and impatient. That's why I've set a 5-year limit on you. Zhao Yazi was disappointed that Lin Yi didn't live up to his expectations. But I didn't expect that after 10 years, your impatience still hasn't been polished. Really? It's because 10 years is too long. That's why I'm a little impatient. Lin Yi said embarrassedly with a red face. Next time, when you refine the jade, I hope you won't make the same mistake. Otherwise, not only will you fail, you might even make me disappear, Zhao Yazi said. It won't happen next time. Lin Yi nodded and promised, next time, I will definitely follow the instructions strictly. The product launch of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company started under everyone's shock and doubt. The crowd didn't understand. Didn't Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company go bankrupt because of Dr. Kang's medical group? Why did they make a comeback again? It wasn't that there weren't these kinds of companies that made a comeback after going bankrupt, but to be able to make a comeback in less than a month, this was a little rare. Because of this, a lot of media came to Miracle Dr. Guan's product launch with curiosity, especially with Su Shihan's presence. Many entertainment media came as well. This was the effect of a celebrity. So the revival of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company and their new product attracted the attention of all kinds of media. In an instant, even the prepared seats weren't enough. Many media that came to interview could only stand at the side and watch. Luckily, it was an open-air product launch, so it could be seen from nearby. House Kong received the news that Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was reopening and had a new product. Although it was within House Kang's expectation, the speed still made Dr. Kong a little speechless. Father, don't worry too much. Even if Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company reopens and has a new product, they still don't have the strength to compete with us. They're cheap. We can be cheaper. Plus, we're an old brand, and they're new. Who do you think the consumers will choose? Kong Guifeng saw that Dr. Kong was a little worried, so he said, Yeah, Grandpa, we have the support and prescription of the hidden house you. Why are we afraid of miracle Dr. Guan? Zhao Long comforted. But only Kong Ming Ming didn't say anything. These few days, Kong Ming Ming had been quiet. He was scared by Lin Yi's strength. The 13th rite was eliminated, and although the hidden house you didn't say anything, they didn't send anyone else. This made Kong Ming Ming very uneasy. He was afraid that Lin Yi would come at any time. After all, he was involved in the kidnapping of Guan Xin. If Lin Yi pursued this matter, the first person to die would be him. Kong Ming Ming. Zhao Ming, why aren't you saying anything? Dr. Kong looked at Kong Ming Ming. Grandpa, I'm a little scared. I have a feeling that Lin Yi won't let this go. He will definitely take revenge on us. Kong Ming Ming hesitated and said. Dr. Kong frowned. Why do you say that? Zhao Ming, what nonsense are you talking about? House Kong relies on fair competition. Even if Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company competes, it's just a normal business method. We have the price advantage and the prescription advantage. How can they compete with us? Kong Guifeng looked at Kong Ming Ming and scolded. Chapter 1860. Right 13th is dead. Lin Yi killed him. I'm the one who offended Lin Yi, not you guys. Kong Ming Ming shook his head dejectedly. Forget it, I'm going back to rest. You guys will know how powerful Lin Yi is in a bit. With that, Kong Ming Ming turned around and left. Miracle Dr. Kong sighed, his face growing darker and darker. Grandpa, don't listen to Zhao Ming's nonsense. He must have been traumatized. He'll be fine after some time. Zhao Long was happy to see Kong Ming Ming like this. If Kong Ming Ming continued to be like this, then it would be time for Zhao Long to become the heir again. Guifeng, Zhao Long, you guys should go to the product launch and see what Lin Yi and Fatty Lai are up to. Dr. Kong said uneasily. There are some things we have to be careful of. Yes. Kong Guifeng and Zhao Long didn't think much of it. House Kang's products were selling like the sun in the sky. They didn't think that Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company had any way to reverse the situation. Of course, they didn't think that Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was also like the sun in the sky. Didn't they go bankrupt in an instant? At the product launch, to the media's surprise, Fatty Lai released a few new products. All the products matched with Dr. Kang's medical company, but other than the big promotion for the injury medicine, he lowered it to the same price as Dr. Kang's medical company, but it was still slightly more expensive. The other products were actually much more expensive than Dr. Kang's products. This made all the reporters and onlookers at the scene drop their jaws. With such a price and similar products, how could Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company compete with Dr. Kang's medical company? They had no advantage at all. Although many people noticed that Dr. Kang's golden creation wasn't as effective as before, it was still cheaper. Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was effective. However, the price was too high. In comparison, most people would settle for the second best option. Although Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company also had a promotion for their injury medicine, it was buy one get one free. It was equivalent to buying 2 bottles for 99 yuan, and 49.50 yuan for 1 bottle. Dr. Kang's golden creation was buy one get 2 free at 99 yuan, which was equivalent to 33 yuan per bottle. In comparison, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company didn't have a single product that had an advantage. Must say, if the injury medicine had the same effect as before, then some people might choose the slightly more expensive Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. But what about other products? Although the superstar Su Shirhan was the spokesperson, other than those loyal fans who would buy the more expensive products from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, who else would be willing to take the risk? It was not that he could not afford it. But there was no need to spend more money. Humph. And here I was wondering what kind of tricks he could play. It seems like father was worried for nothing. Kong Guifeng, who was standing in the middle of the crowd, smiled coldly and said to Zhao Long, "You only know how to repeat what a parrot says, you don't know how to innovate, and the price is ridiculously high. It'd be a miracle if they could win against House Kong like this." Yeah, I don't know what that Kong Ming Ming is worried about all day. If Lin Yi wanted to find him, he would have done it a long time ago. Why would he wait until now? Look at Pengzhan Industries. How much Housen took in, how much they spit out. This is the startup capital of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Maybe it's all compensation to Lin Yi. One had to admit that Xiaolong's prediction was very accurate. Hit the nail on the head. What's the use of that? Let's go back. Other than Su Shihan's fans, no one will buy their products, Kong Guifeng said. But just as the two were about to leave, they heard Fatty Lai's voice again. The new product launch has ended here. But before Su Shihan performs, I still have to criticize the unethical practices of a certain brand in the industry. All the media heard this news and went into an uproar. In the entire launch, Fatty Lai's words were the most interesting to them. Before this, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's products weren't competitive at all, which made them think that this launch was a failure. But they didn't expect this to be the main point. Kong Guifeng's eyelids twitched, and he stopped in his tracks. At the moment, the only company that could compete with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was Dr. Kang's medical group. If they wanted to expose something, they would naturally expose something related to Dr. Kang's medical group. Father, let's stay and see what they have to say. Xiaolong laughed coldly. If they were to spout nonsense, they could sue them for defamation. At this moment, Fatty Lai took out a report from an authoritative organization and started talking about it. Although he didn't say what brand it was, the products he was talking about, such as Golden Creation Special Edition, 100 Pain Disinfectant, and weight loss medicine, were all popular products of Dr. Kang's medical company. Now that he took it out, everyone knew who he was talking about. When Fatty Lai accurately pointed out the chemical ingredients in the medicine and the harm of the weight loss medicine, Kong Guifeng and Xiaolong's faces changed instantly. They knew the chemical ingredients in Golden Creation Special Edition and 100 Pain Disinfectant, especially since Xiaolong was in charge of the entire research and production, so he wasn't unfamiliar with these two drugs. However, the hormone and aminopyrine weren't illegal drugs. Even if they were added, the most they could do was hide it. But the weight loss medicine was simply harmful. However, this prescription was given by the hidden House Yu, and no one in House Kong could understand the pharmacology and effects of the prescription. Although Xiaolong was a professional in this field, he couldn't understand the pharmacology and effects of the medicine. Now that Fatty Lai suddenly exposed it, both of their faces turned green. The negative effects of the Golden Creation Special Edition and 100 Pain Disinfectant were easier to deal with. After all, the hormone was also used to treat illnesses. Aminopyrine, pain reliever, and cold medicine also contained this chemical. But that weight loss medicine was basically the death of House Kong. If what Fatty Lai said was true, then Dr. Kang's medical company would face unprecedented pressure. Anyone who bought the medicine would reject it immediately. No matter how cheap Dr. Kang's medicine was, the consumers wouldn't accept it. They were paying for treatment, not for death. When Fatty Lai finished talking about the side effects of the weight loss medicine, the audience went wild. The media found a big piece of news, and the audience, some of whom were using Dr. Kang's weight loss medicine themselves, and some of their friends and relatives were using it. Now, all of them were cursing Dr. Kang's unscrupulousness. How could they come up with something so harmful? If they took it for a long time, wouldn't it be a slow poison? To be continued. Chapter 1861. Xiaolong, could he be lying on purpose? Kong Guifeng's face darkened as he asked. I don't think so. Xiaolong's face was as white as a sheet. The ingredients he mentioned were the recipes of our weight loss medicine. None of them are wrong. So, since he said it, he must have asked the authorities to verify it. We're done. We're completely done for this time. Kong Guifeng heard Xiaolong's words, and he felt like his soul had left his body. The father and son were preparing to go back to House Kong to report the bad news. On the other side, Su Shihan's performance was attractive, but only the entertainment media was interested in it. The business media were thinking about how to dig deeper into the dark secrets of Dr. Kang's products. Before Su Shihan sang, she said firmly to the fans and cameras, I've been using the products of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. It's healthy, non-toxic, and non-toxic. It's their foundation. Although it's a little expensive, but health is priceless. Everyone nodded in agreement. Yes, Dr. Kong, that old liar, Golden Creation was cheap, but he cut corners. The other medicines were all lies, and the weight loss medicine was even worse. Then, Su Shihan continued, Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine company's injury medicine promotion is a real promotion. It's a promotion under the condition that the quality is the same as before, not cutting corners. I can guarantee it with my reputation. Su Shihan, a superstar, had taken a huge risk to make such a guarantee, but it also indirectly proved her confidence in Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Lin Yi was also looking at Su Shihan, and what she said was improvised. It wasn't rehearsed beforehand. So Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. This girl was quite interesting, and she knew how to be grateful. He didn't help her for nothing. The two of them couldn't be considered as close friends, but at this moment, Lin Yi had no doubt placed Su Shihan in the list of important friends. Not for anything else but for this trust. The conference had come to a perfect end. It would be impossible if Fatty Lai didn't earn a lot of money from now on. On the other side, Fatty Lai and Kong Xiaobo were overjoyed. From today onwards, Dr. Kong was no match for them. Dr. Kong Medical Group would probably have no way to deal with this, and their products would be seized tomorrow. Let's go back and pack up. We'll go to East Ocean City tomorrow since school is about to start. Lin Yi said to Meng Yao and Yushu. He didn't know why, but Lin Yi felt like something was missing from his side. Although Meng Yao and Yushu were Su Shihan's loyal fans, they had already agreed that Su Shihan would go back to the villa to play with Meng Yao and Yushu after the press conference. They didn't have to wait here like other fans just to see Su Shihan. East Ocean, House Kong. It was a mess right now. Kong Guifeng and Zhao Long brought the news of the press conference back, and Dr. Kang's blood rushed to his head, and he was sent to the hospital. Kong Ming smiled bitterly and murmured, "It's here, right? It's finally here." Guifeng and Zhao Long didn't have the mood to attack Zhao Ming anymore. House Kong was at its most critical moment. What awaited them was being seized, their products would be taken off the shelves, they wouldn't be able to sell well, and they would have to face lawsuits from consumers and huge compensation. It could be said that House Kong was in a worse state than Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Chu's villa, Su Shihan secretly came in a black MPV covered in film. Meng Yao and Yushu were very happy. Ever since Xiao Xiao left, Su Shihan didn't come to the villa anymore. Although they would text each other occasionally, Su Shihan was busy every day, and she didn't have much time to chat with them. Sometimes, Su Shihan would reply after a long time or even a few days, but even so, the two of them had a sense of superiority compared to other fans. Su Shihan would definitely reply to any of their messages. A few days before Su Shihan came to Songshan, Meng Yao had already told Su Shihan not to mention Tang Yun's matter anymore. Although Su Shihan was surprised, she still followed her words. But Su Shihan was very happy when she heard that Xiao Xiao didn't die, and was taken in as a disciple by some big sect. She liked this girl a lot, and felt that the two were fated to meet. They weren't sisters, but they were as close as sisters. On the other hand, she was close to Meng Yao and Yushu, but she didn't feel as close as she did with Xiao Xiao. This was a strange kind of fate between people, and Su Shihan couldn't explain it clearly. But Su Shihan's time in the villa was limited. Her schedule was fully arranged by her management company, and this half a day was just a break from her busy schedule. What surprised Su Shihan was that Lin Yi was still as cold as before. He nodded at her and went back to his room, leaving her, Meng Yao, and Yushu to sing karaoke in the living room. Logically speaking, she helped him a lot, and she took the risk to express her position at the press conference. He should be more friendly to her, right? But thinking about Lin Yi's usual behavior, Su Shihan knew that this guy was like this. He didn't think of her as a star at all. In his eyes, she was just a slightly prettier girl, and he had never lacked pretty girls around him. At that thought, Su Shihan was a little dejected. This guy was so annoying. Su Shihan spent the night at Meng Yao's house, and the next morning, she was picked up by her manager's car. Lin Yi and the others were also on their way to Donghai City. They'd filled out their application forms a while ago, and all three of them chose Donghai Industry University. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, chose the economics faculty. Meng Yao really wanted to learn some business knowledge so that she could help her father, or Lin Yi. Yushu, on the other hand, didn't have any ideas. She just followed whatever Meng Yao wanted to learn. Lin Yi, on the other hand, signed up for a very unpopular major, the botany major of the biology faculty. This major was related to herbs, and it was one of the unpopular majors. People who really studied plants wouldn't sign up for this major, and those who wanted to study medicine would sign up for a specialized medical university. But in a science and engineering school, there was a reason for this major to exist. When Lin Yi signed up, he had the same interest as himself, and he wanted to spend time with the Miss and Shu. As for whether or not he could learn anything, Lin Yi didn't really care. Chapter 1862. Buying a house. Bingjan had wanted to send them off, but he had just taken over the company, and there were many things he had to deal with. He woke up early every day, and naturally, he didn't want anything to happen to the company that he had worked so hard to get back. Besides, Pengzhan and Faubert had already had dinner with Meng Yao, Xu, and Lin Yi, so there was no need to send them off. But before they left, Lin Yi asked Fatty Lai about Xiaoka's orphanage, and he knew that it was doing well. Although there were only dormitories and no other facilities, at least the orphans had a place to live. Lin Yi hinted to Fatty Lai that he could give the orphanage some funding, and Fatty Lai happily agreed. With the current development of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, it wasn't possible to completely fund the orphanage in one go, but it was possible to build it in small batches. On the morning of the 8th of October, Lin Yi drove Meng Yao and Yushu to Grandma Sun's house in his jeep. He had already told Grandma Sun a few days ago that he would bring her to Donghai City today, and Grandma Sun had already settled everything. When Lin Yi arrived at her house, Grandma Sun was already waiting in the yard. "Grandma Sun, you don't have any luggage?" Lin Yi looked at the empty-handed Grandma Sun, surprised. Hee, I'm alone and I don't have much money. It's not good to put these old things in your new house. When the time comes, I'll buy a few new ones. Grandma Sun said with a smile. "I won't let you buy anything when we get there," Lin Yi smiled. "That's good, we'll be on our way then." Meng Yao had already told Pengzhan about Grandma Sun, and although Pengzhan didn't have the time to meet Grandma Sun, he heard from Meng Yao that Grandma Sun was a good person, and that she even took them in when they were in trouble. Naturally, he wouldn't object to Grandma Sun going to Donghai City with them, and take care of them. October 10th was the first day of school for the freshmen of Donghai Industry University. It had been a tradition for many years that the freshmen of Donghai Technological University started school in October. This made the students who applied for this university very happy. They could enjoy a longer vacation after the stressful third year of high school. Of course, this rule only applied to the new students. The old students would still start school on September 1st. The four of them drove to East Ocean City on October 8th. They arrived 2 days earlier so that they could settle down first. Master's acquaintances were here, but Lin Yi didn't want to trouble them, unless it was something important. Lin Yi didn't need to trouble others for something as insignificant as buying a house. Donghai Industry University was located in the university town of Donghai City. There were more than 10 universities in the university town, and they were all very close to each other. Lin Yi drove the group around Donghai Industry University to get a feel of the school's atmosphere. Because of the unified planning a few years ago, all the universities in East Ocean City were relocated together, so the campuses were all newly built. At first glance, it had a modern vibe, and even Grandma Sun had a youthful and energetic attitude. In fact, Grandma Sun didn't look very old after changing into a new set of clothes. Grandma Sun was actually less than 50 years old. It was just that she spent most of her time picking up scraps and being exposed to the sun and wind, so she looked a lot older. Of course, compared to the first high school, the buildings here were still a little inferior. After all, the first high school was a private school for nobles, and the decorations were incomparable to ordinary schools. However, the scale here was far greater than the first high school. Magnificent high-rise buildings could be found everywhere, and the size of the area was also much larger than the first high school. An ordinary small field was as big as the entire field of the first high school. The environment is not bad. "Let's buy a house nearby," Lin Yi said. "It's close to school and we won't be late." "Okay, you decide," Miss Sun said lightly. Unknowingly, Lin Yi had become the backbone of the family, and the miss wouldn't point her fingers and give her suggestions anymore. Lin Yi parked the car in front of an agency and got off the car with Meng Yao and Yushu. Grandma Sun stayed in the car and didn't get off. From her point of view, she couldn't give any suggestions, so it was better for her to stay. After entering the agency, Lin Yi realized that the business here was quite good. It was only the morning, and there were already 4 students renting houses here. 2 guys and 2 girls. They looked like 2 couples. One of the couple looked slightly older, and they should be postgraduates. After signing the agreement, they paid the money and left in satisfaction. The other couple was obviously about the same age as Lin Yi and the others, and from the way they talked and acted, they should be this year's new students. The staff of the agency was helping them to find a house. It was a girl with shoulder-length hair and delicate makeup. Her eyebrows were black, and her eyes were big. She was very delicate and lively. As for the boy beside her, He seemed a little shy. From his face, he looked a little immature, as if he was a little younger than the girl, and he seemed to let the girl make the decisions everywhere. He stood at the side, pursed his lips, and did not express any opinions, as if he was a little cowardly. Actually, for new students like you, renting a one-bedroom apartment is the best. The price is low, and the facilities are complete. Don't think that it's only 20 square meters, but it has a kitchen and a bathroom. This is the most popular apartment for new students, and the rent is very cheap, only $700 to $800 a month. The staff said. One room? How are we going to live? Let's just get a 2-bedroom apartment. The girl shook her head and interrupted the staff. Aren't you guys a couple? What's wrong with living together? Haven't you guys? The staff looked at the young couple strangely, and stopped halfway. Who said we are a couple? The girl was a little dumbfounded. He is my cousin. Although we are relatives, we are so old. We can't just live in the same room, right? Isn't it inconvenient? I see. After the staff was stunned, he shook his head apologetically. He was prejudiced. The men and women who came here to rent houses were basically student couples. It was rare to see a brother and sister combination like this. Lin Yi also realized. No wonder I had that kind of feeling before. It turns out that these two people are really brother and sister. Then, there is naturally nothing wrong with the sister taking the lead. At this time, another staff also came up. Chapter 1863. He looked at Lin Yi's group strangely. 1 boy and 2 girls? What was the relationship between them? Why was this strange group renting a house today? He didn't dare to make a random recommendation after what happened before. He asked directly, what kind of house are you looking for? We're looking for a house, Lin Yi said. Lin Yi's words attracted the attention of the girl and the boy. The girl looked at Lin Yi with a strange look in her eyes. There was surprise and excitement, but she quickly covered it up. She turned around and continued discussing with the agent. If it was a normal person, they might not have noticed the strange look in the girl's eyes, but Lin Yi's senses were very sharp. Naturally, he didn't notice this little detail. What puzzled him was that he didn't know this girl. What did she mean? Buy a house. The agent was also surprised. Although there were a lot of people who came here to buy houses, most of them were teachers or staff of the school, or parents who accompanied their children to study. Students who bought their own houses were very few. Yes. Are there any villas around here? Since Lin Yi was living with Meng Yao and Yushu, the miss liked to avoid suspicion. Naturally, it was better for her to live alone. She didn't want people to find out that she was living with a boy. Villa. The agent was taken aback, but when he saw the Jeep Cherokee parked at the entrance, he thought they must be kids from rich families. Perhaps one of them was the boyfriend's girlfriend, and the other was their sister. Yes, are there any for sale around here? It's best if it's renovated. You can move in right away, Lin Yi said. Yes. The agent sighed at these kids who spent their parents' money. He thought of the huge commission he could get if he sold a villa. The agent acted as if he was on steroids. He opened his laptop and typed in the search criteria. He showed the villas that fit the criteria to Lin Yi's group. They're all here. There are 3 villas for sale around here. There are more in places further away. More than 10 villas are for sale. What about the renovations? Lin Yi asked with a nod. What would Lin Yi think if he found out that the staff was suspecting him of being a child who spent his parents' money? Who knew what he'd think if he knew that this was the money he'd scammed from Jianghu? Yes. These 2 are the same. One is simple and the other is hardcover. They are both from the nearby Shui commercial district. The house type and size are the same, but the price is different. The hardcover is much more expensive, the agent said. Yao sis, we want this one. That building was too luxurious. It doesn't suit us. It's too luxurious. Yushu pointed at the simple villa on the screen. This one's perfect. Pretty much the same as the one we lived in Songshan. All right, Lin Yi, what do you think? Meng Yao nodded as she looked at Lin Yi. Then this one. Lin Yi nodded casually and asked, how much is it? The agent heard Yushu call Meng Yao sis, and he immediately understood. This girl must be the boy's sister, and this Yao sis must be the boy's girlfriend. He was feeling proud of his guess when he heard Lin Yi ask how much it was. He paused for a second. Normally, Buyers would only study the price after looking at it carefully. He didn't think that Lin Yi would ask about the price after just a few glances. The quoted price of this villa is 9.5 million renminbi, but the owner said it's negotiable. The agent brought out his bottom line honestly. Lin Yi roughly estimated the price. This was considered cheap in Donghai, but the university was located in a remote area. It was normal for the price to be lower. So Lin Yi made a decision, call the owner and ask. If it's 9 million, we'll pay today. Okay. The agent froze. He didn't think that Lin Yi would agree so easily. 9.5 million was negotiable, and from the agent's point of view, 9 million wasn't a problem. He actually made such a big deal in one go. As expected, after listening to the price, the owner thought about it for a while and agreed. Since Lin Yi was buying the house with cash and paying in one go, the owner was more than happy to have it easy. Okay, I've made an appointment with the owner. We can go now. The agent nodded and said, Okay, you lead the way, I'll drive. Lin Yi nodded. When Lin Yi and the others went out, the beautiful girl put down the mouse in her hand and stopped choosing the house. She said to the agent in front of her, I don't want to rent the house anymore. You don't want to rent it anymore? The agent was slightly stunned. He didn't know how he offended this customer, but he couldn't force her to rent the house if she didn't want to, right? Was it because he said that this pair of siblings were a couple that made them unhappy? And I changed my mind. We'll buy the house too, the beautiful girl said. Bye. The agent widened his eyes and looked at the beautiful girl who didn't seem to be joking. He finally confirmed that he didn't hear it wrong. He felt very strange in his heart. There were really strange things every day, but there were especially many today. The previous 3 people bought the house, and this pair of siblings also wanted to buy the house. Could it be that all the rich students gathered together? However, looking at this pair of sisters, they were dressed very simply. Although the beautiful girl dressed very youthful, the clothes on her body were definitely not too expensive. As a real estate agent, he could tell at a glance. However, the previous 3 people who bought the house, if they didn't drive here, who would know that they were rich? Because their clothes weren't very luxurious. They were all very ordinary casual clothes, and they could actually afford a villa. Yes, before, near the villa they were looking at, is there another luxuriously decorated villa? Asked the beautiful girl. Yes. The agent nodded subconsciously. I want it, said the beautiful girl. The agent widened his eyes and looked at the beautiful girl in front of him in disbelief. He had an urge to shout. He was crazy. Just now, a girl who wanted to rent a house suddenly wanted to buy a villa. Is this true? Or is she joking? Sir, what's wrong with you? I want to buy a villa. Is there anything wrong? The beautiful girl frowned slightly and asked. No, nothing. That villa, 12 million, and it's luxuriously decorated. The agent asked carefully. The school bell's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full text. Chapter 1864. It's a second-hand house. It's not that expensive. The girl said calmly, 11 million, swipe your card if you can. Card. You're not looking at the house? The agent blinked. I don't need to. This villa is very close to the one they bought before, right? The girl asked. Yes. The agent nodded blankly. Okay, if you can, we'll do the paperwork now. The girl took out a black diamond card, a card that required at least 5 million in savings. The last bit of doubt in the agent's heart disappeared when he saw the card. He sighed. What was going on today? He was just envious of his colleague for selling a villa, and now he was selling another one? Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Lin Yi brought Meng Yao to the villa area in Xianxia district. The environment here wasn't as elegant as Songshan's Ocean View Bay, but it was still a high-class district. It wasn't all villas, but the other buildings were all Western style, very unique. Xianxia district, as the name suggested, was a residential district for businessmen near the university. It was a district that was sold to the rich. It was completely different from the residential districts that students lived in. The property fees here were high, but the district was very orderly. There were plenty of parking spaces, and the roads were clean. The villa area was quiet and beautiful. As a result, Meng Yao and Shu fell in love with the environment. Lin Yi didn't say anything more and signed the contract with the owner. He swiped his card to pay for the house and completed the paperwork. Now, the villa was Lin Yi's property. In the afternoon, Lin Yi drove Meng Yao and Yu Shu to the supermarket to buy some daily necessities. The four started to clean the place after they returned. It had been a long time since anyone lived in the villa. It was full of dust. They had to do some cleaning. But the villa was too big, and the four didn't stop to clean it for the rest of the day. On the third day, it was the registration day of Donghai Industry University. Early in the morning, Lin Yi drove Meng Yao and Yu Shu to Donghai Industry University. It was a public university. Therefore, there were rich and poor students, and it was not uncommon for them to drive to school. Although Lin Yi's Grand Cherokee was worth a lot of money, it was not cheap. But its appearance was very low-key. It was not as eye-catching as Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Ferrari. After parking in the school's public parking lot, the three of them brought their acceptance letters and relevant identification documents to the new student registration counter. In the parking lot, there was no lack of parents of new students. Beside Lin Yi's car, there were a few parents proudly comparing their children's college entrance examination results. Those with high grades naturally had a proud demeanor. However, this was only temporary. University was completely different from high school and middle school. High school and junior high school. It was a competition of results. But in university, although results were important, personal ability also played a big role. Getting a job wasn't just about having good grades. Personal ability and practice were also very important. This was especially true for students who had entered the fourth year of university. After they started looking for a job, they would have a deep understanding of this point. Under the same educational background, recruitment companies wouldn't carefully look at the grades of each subject in each semester. Instead, they would pay more attention to individual performance in the actual interview. Of course, this was too far away for new students who had just entered the university. Those who were able to get into East Ocean Industry University were the pride of their respective schools. The admission requirements here weren't low, and it was something to be proud of to be able to get into this university. Not far away, there was a new student registration counter set up by the student council, guiding the new students to their respective departments. Because Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yu Shu were studying different majors, Lin Yi decided to go with them first, and then he would go to the medicine major. However, when Meng Yao and Yu Shu were asking where to register for the economics major, two boys walked up to them and asked in a friendly manner, "Two new students, are you going to the economics major? Let us take you there?" Every year, when it was time for new students to register, there would always be some second and third year boys waiting at the registration counter. After all, the ratio of male to female students in science and engineering was skewed, and there weren't many pretty girls there. As a result, their eyes lit up when they saw Meng Yao and Yu Shu. But these two were from the sports department. One of them was called Li Biaohan, the president of the boxing club, and the other was called Niadao Zhuang. He wasn't from any club, but his background was mysterious, and he was very strong. Even the presidents of the Wushu and Taekwondo clubs had to give him some respect. Only Li Biaohan could fight him, but it was said that it wasn't because of Li Biaohan's skills, but because his background was similar to Niadao Zhuang's. Of course, in terms of individual strength, these two were very strong as well. And so, the girls that they had their eyes on first gave up dejectedly. These two had hit on countless girls, but no one dared to say anything. Looking at Li Biaohan and Niadao in front of her, Meng Yao's eyes were filled with caution. "No need, we can find it," Meng Yao said. "Haha, this school is really big. It's normal for new students to get lost. Let us take you there." Li Biaohan and Niadao Zhuang had a tacit understanding. There were two pretty girls here anyway. One for each of them. "I know you want to hit on us." Yu Shu looked at the two and immediately guessed what they were thinking. She called out, "Shield bro, there's someone here who wants to hit on me and Yao Yao." Lin Yi had just gotten the map for the medicine course when he realized that Meng Yao and Yu Shu were stopped by two guys. He frowned as he heard Yu Shu's voice. He could guess what the two guys were up to when he heard them. Lin Yi had heard about the imbalance between male and female in science and engineering schools. But these two didn't have to be this anxious, did they? Seeing Lin Yi walk over, Yu Shu said proudly, "We have an escort, we don't need you guys anymore." Li Biaohan and Niadao frowned. They didn't expect these two girls to be taken, but seeing that there was only one Lin Yi, they didn't want to give up. "Of these two, which one is your girlfriend?" Niadeo asked, unwilling to give up. Although he was a domineering person, he wouldn't do something like stealing someone's girlfriend in public. It was fine if he did it behind their backs, but at least he had to look good on the surface. So if Lin Yi took one, there would still be one left. As for who would get the girl, it would depend on him and Li Biaohan, the school beauty's personal expert. Welcome to Log In. Read the full article. Chapter 1865. Lin Yi looked at the guy and frowned. Since when were there so many masters? As expected of a big city, you can meet golden class masters in any school. Of course, it was his first day at school, and Lin Yi didn't want any trouble. He looked at the two and didn't say anything. He was about to leave with Meng Yao and Yushu. I say, bro, which one is your girlfriend? You're not thinking of protecting both of them, are you? Li Biaohan saw that Lin Yi didn't say anything and stood in front of him. That's right. Lin Yi nodded, confirming Li Biaohan's words. Kid, you're new, don't you know the rules? You want to take 2 resources by yourself? Hurry up. Which one is your girlfriend? I won't make things difficult for you if you take her away. Li Biaohan's eyes flashed with anger. He couldn't do this to normal freshmen, but Meng Yao and Yushu were too pretty. They had the potential to become the school's beauties. How could Li Biaohan let them go? They were 100 times better than those ordinary girls. Neither of them. Lin Yi looked at him indifferently. I'm a bodyguard. What? Li Biaohan froze. Bodyguard? What did he mean? These two brought bodyguards to school? Xianxia froze as well. He didn't know what to say. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had already left with Meng Yao and Yushu. Only the 2 of them were left. This kid must be fooling people. I just saw him take out the admission notice. He must be a newcomer who came here to report. After a while, Li Biaohan finally reacted and found that something was wrong. It's fine. These 2 girls will be on the school's beauty list soon. That kid will be easy to find out. We'll teach him a lesson and let him know how strong he is to be a bodyguard. Xianxia laughed coldly. However, as the 2 of them were discussing in the middle of the road, suddenly, he heard the sound of a car horn. Li Biaohan and Xianxia froze. In the school, other than the teachers and leaders who dared to honk in front of them, which student dared to do so? However, when he turned around, he discovered that it was a Ferrari convertible sports car. The driver was a bald youth, and beside him was a yellow-haired youth. In the back seat, there was a purple-haired youth. What are you looking at? Are you courting death? Stand in the middle of the road. The yellow hair looked at Li Biaohan and Xianxia and shouted. Li Biaohan and Xianxia were unhappy. Although they were usually overbearing, they did not dare to do anything to Lin Yi on campus. After all, Lin Yi did not provoke them. If they hit Lin Yi, it would be a bit unreasonable. However, Li Biaohan and Xianxia naturally wouldn't tolerate such open provocation. They were prepared to vent their anger on the 3 Ferrari-driving freshmen. Although the 3 newcomers were dressed like hooligans, one of them was bald. 2 dyed their hair. But for Li Biaohan and Xianxia, it was a piece of cake. Li Biaohan was a master at the peak of the late phase of the Golden Division, and Xianxia was a master at the peak of the early phase of the Mystic Division. They could be said to be arrogant. The 2 of them directly walked over. Young Master Yu, these 2 seem to be trained as well. The yellow hair looked at the way Li Biaohan and Xianxia walked and frowned. Go down and take care of these 2, motherfucker. It's the first day of school and we already have 2 idiots blocking our way. Young Master Yu was naturally Yu Panhu from the Yu family. He was also a freshman at East Ocean Industry University. Of course, he didn't get in through the official exams. He was a self-funded student. Yes. As soon as the yellow hair got out of the car, he activated his internal energy and revealed the strength of the early phase of the Mystic Division. Li Biaohan and Xianxia's faces immediately changed. They didn't think that this yellow hair, who looked like a gangster, was actually a master at the early phase of the Mystic Division. However, Xianxia wasn't afraid. He was a physical master at the peak of the early phase of the Mystic Division. Although the internal style was slightly stronger than the physical style masters of the same level, the yellow hair in front of him was 1 level lower than him. Plus, he had Li Biaohan's assistant, so his chances of winning were very high. Heh, I didn't think that he would be at the early phase of the mystic division. Xianxia waved his hand faintly. Qi surged around him, and he revealed his physical strength at the peak of the early phase of the mystic division. The yellow hair also froze. He didn't think that accompanying young Master Yu to report his arrival would result in him running into a mystic division master. Panhu Yu's face also changed. He looked at the purple hair behind the car and said, "Go down and find out who he is." It was impossible for a mystic class master to have no background, especially such a young mystic class master. If it was a master in his 40s or 50s, then Panhu Yu wouldn't care. At most, that kind of person would be a guest or a side relative of some family. He wouldn't be a core disciple. But since this person was a university student and had such strength, he was probably a core disciple of some family. The purple hair nodded. When he got out of the car, he activated his internal energy and revealed the strength of the middle phase of the mystic division. This made Xianxia and Li Biaohan's faces turn extremely serious and ugly. If it was the yellow hair himself, then they still had a chance of winning. But now, there was an additional purple hair in the middle phase of the mystic division. Even two Xianxia wouldn't be their match, not to mention that Li Biaohan was only at the peak of the late phase of the golden division. "Young master, you wanted me to ask you too. Which family are you from? Don't let the flood flood the Dragon King's temple." The purple hair said faintly. If it was any other time, the purple hair and the yellow hair wouldn't mind joining forces to teach these two a lesson. But now, the main conflict of House Yu was focused on Lin Yi. Yu 13th was burned to death by Lin Yi. When this news spread back to House Yu, everyone was shocked. Old Yu was both shocked and angered. He wanted revenge, but when he thought of Zhao Guang'er's late phase of the Earth class, he didn't dare to touch Lin Yi. And the representative of the common world, House Kong, had suffered such a huge blow. The golden creation was not selling well, many medicines were seized, and they were facing the danger of bankruptcy at any time. This made House Yu unable to divert their attention to deal with other enemies. So at this time, as a core disciple of House Yu, Yu Panhu naturally didn't want to cause any trouble. Otherwise, with his personality, how could he let these two go? Young Master Yu? Could it be the hidden young Master Yu of the House Yu? Xianxia paused and thought of a giant among the hidden houses, an existence that was on the same level as the hidden House Yu. Only the hidden Yu family would assign two mystic class masters as bodyguards for their own children, right? That's right. It's the second young master of House Yu, Yu Panhu. The purple hair nodded and his expression became serious. He didn't have the arrogance from before as he cupped his fists and said, "School Beauty's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full text." Chapter 1866. Because Purple Hair heard Xianxia's words, he knew that Xianxia was someone who knew about hidden families. If it was a normal person, they wouldn't know so much and immediately thought of the hidden Yu family. "I am Xianxia from the hidden Zhuang family." Xianxia also cupped his fist. Although he was the eldest son of the hidden Zhuang family, he wasn't favored by the family due to his lack of talent. They didn't even let him participate in the Ice Palace's trial and sent his two younger brothers, Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo. However, his two younger brothers were talented in cultivation and had no interest in managing the Zhuang family's business. Zhuang Niandao was the future family head of the Zhuang family. Therefore, he was currently studying management at Donghai Industry University. Logically speaking, he was the young master of the Zhuang family and the future head of the Zhuang family. In front of Yu Panhu, the second son of the Yu family, he didn't need to address himself as this one. He could even put on some airs. However, Xianxia had his own thoughts. After he became the head of the Zhuang family, connections would be the most important thing. Although the Zhuang family was a hidden family, they weren't strong. Compared to House Yu and House Yu, they paled in comparison. Plus, the Zhuang family didn't have their own cultivation technique. They practiced both internal and external martial arts, so their overall strength was very weak. However, the Yu family was different. The second young master of the Yu family had two mystic class bodyguards. How prestigious was this? As for forming a good relationship with the first young master of the Yu family, Xianxia didn't even dare to think about it. Therefore, it was because of these reasons that he addressed himself as this one. Fire Wolf Gang, Li Biaohan. Li Biaohan also cupped his fists. Although Li Biaohan was only a golden rank master, He was the eyes and ears of the Fire Wolf gang near East Ocean University City. He could be considered as a small leader. Therefore, with the Fire Wolf gang's name, he had no intention of pleasing the two masters from the Yu family. The Fire Wolf gang was different from the Zhuang family. They didn't need to please any hidden families. Purple hair and yellow hair's expressions changed. They didn't expect this. They didn't expect that the person in front of them was from the Fire Wolf gang. Although the Yu family was powerful, they didn't have the strength to fight against the Fire Wolf gang. Of course, if they used the Heavenly Elixir sect, the Yu family wouldn't be weak. When Right Coiling Tiger heard that one of them was the young master of the hidden Zhuang family and the other was a member of the Fire Wolf gang, he couldn't sit still and smiled as he got off the carriage. So it's the Fire Wolf gang's brother Li and the hidden Zhuang family's eldest young master Zhuang. Right Coiling Tiger also cupped his fists. He said, "I've long heard of the power of the Fire Wolf gang. Brother Li is indeed talented." The three brothers of the Zhuang family are known as the Zhuang family's saber, gun, and cannon. Coiling Tiger has long heard of them. Today, I finally get to see them. Haha, what happened before was all a misunderstanding. We're all brothers. Zhuang Niadeo saw Right Coiling Tiger's attitude. He was also very satisfied. It seemed that they would be able to play together in the future. The Fire Wolf gang, the Yu family, and the Heavenly Elixir sect have business dealings. We are all on the same side. Brother Yu is too polite. Li Biaohan was very happy with Yu Ponhu's respect. He cupped his fists and returned the greeting. Since we've run into each other, I'll treat you to a meal. Two big brothers, let's find a hotel. We won't stop until we're drunk. Zhuang Niadeo wanted to build connections for himself, but wasn't Right Coiling Tiger the same? If he wanted to have more power in House Yu, he needed to have his own power. As the saying goes, when the gods fight, the little devils suffer. So when these guys fought, the other students who knew of Li Biaohan and Zhuang Niadeo's fame all stayed far away. Even the freshmen who didn't know about them took a detour under the dissuasion of the older students. So no one heard a word of what these people were saying. From afar, they saw that these guys were about to fight, but they left happily. This made the people watching from afar very puzzled. Lin Yi brought Meng Yao and Yu Shu to the economics department to complete the procedures. He swiped his card and paid the tuition fees. Then, he brought them to the dorm. But at the door, they were stopped by the old lady guarding the door. "Hey, that guy, stop. Don't you see what's written here?" The old lady waved her hand, stopping Lin Yi from moving forward. Lin Yi raised his head and saw an obvious sign at the door of the female dorm. It said, "No entry for non-females." Ugh. Lin Yi didn't notice it before, but he had seen it on Donghai Industry University's forum. The girls' dorm didn't allow boys to enter, so he wasn't surprised. Moreover, there was an allusion to the phrase, "non-women are not allowed in." It was said that in the past, the sign was "men are not allowed in." When it was changed to the current sign, it was said that there was a man who wanted to come in, but he told the old lady that he was not a man, but a transvestite. Another theory was that there were girls who kept pets in the dorm, and so the school changed it to "no entry for non-females." All creatures other than females were not allowed in. But there were girls who brought their female pets in, wanting to fish in troubled waters. Of course, this was just a rumor. At the time, Lin Yi told Meng Yao and Yu Shu as a joke. "I'll walk you guys here then. Call me if you need anything." Lin Yi said to Meng Yao. Since they didn't let him in, Lin Yi could sneak in through other channels, but there was no need for that. "Okay, bye, shield bro." Yu Shu waved at Lin Yi. Meng Yao nodded and pulled Yu Shu upstairs. After sending the two off, Lin Yi walked to the biology faculty. The biology faculty was the same as the other faculties. There were a lot of tables and chairs in front of the school's main building, with the names of the majors written on them. Some of the majors had a long queue, but some only had a dozen or so people. When Lin Yi found his medicine major, he realized to his dismay that there wasn't a single new student in front of the table. This major couldn't be that unpopular, could it? Lin Yi shook his head helplessly as he looked at the student council receptionist, who looked like he was about to fart. "Excuse me, is this the registration area for medicine?" Lin Yi asked. "Ah, finally, there's someone." The guy stood up excitedly when he heard Lin Yi's question. "Junior, are you here to register for medicine?" Lin Yi was speechless as he looked at the guy in front of him. Why was he so excited when he was here to register? He finally saw a person. Could it be that the people around him weren't people? Or could it be that his eyesight had already reached the legendary stage of big eyes leak, and he simply couldn't see things 3 meters away? Tell me, is it true or not? The boy shouted anxiously. Yes, yes or no. Lin Yi's eyes widened. That's right. I am. But Lin Yi hadn't even finished when the notice in his hand was snatched away by the guy in front of him. School Beauty's personal expert. Welcome to log in. Read the full article. Chapter 1867. Of course, if Lin Yi wanted to be on guard, he naturally wouldn't succeed, but Lin Yi didn't have the intention to compete with him at all. As expected, haha. The boy said excitedly. Wahaha, welcome, Junior Lin Yi. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bai Wei Kai, the student council officer of our medicine major, responsible for the liaison between the medicine major and the student council in the department. In fact, I'm just a big butler. If you need anything, just look for me. Heh, thank you very much, senior. Lin Yi heard Bai Wei Kai's name was familiar, as if he had heard it before, but he didn't remember it. No need to thank me, just call me Brother Xiao Kai from now on, Bai Wei Kai said. Lin Yi suddenly laughed. The term, Xiao Kai, was usually used to describe the second generation of a rich family. He didn't expect this guy to use it. Haha, my family doesn't have much money. Bai Wei Kai heard Lin Yi laugh and knew what he was thinking. Ha! What should I do now? Where do I go to pay? Lin Yi asked. Back in the economics faculty, he'd signed up with Meng Yao and Yushu, and there were other members of the student council leading them to pay the fees, get their dorm keys, stuff like that, but there didn't seem to be anything here. Well, wait a little longer. Other majors have a group of 20 people, led by the other student council officers, but there are less than 20 people signing up in our department this year. As for the student council officer, I'm the only one in the entire department, so you can only wait. I'm leaving, and if there are more people signing up, you won't be able to find them. Bai Wei Kai shrugged and said with some regret. If that's the case, then don't we have to wait for all the people in this department to come? Lin Yi asked. Not really. When my younger brother comes, he can take my place for a while. He is also a new student here, but he is familiar with the rules. Bai Wei Kai said, this kid comes to help every year, right? My grandpa is the only professor in our department. The others are guest professors from other majors in the biology department. Lin Yi was even more shocked after hearing it. It turned out that this whole family was in this profession. However, he still nodded and said, okay. Let's wait for a while. Hee, that's right. Why did you choose this department? Could it be that my results are not good enough? That's not right. With your grades, it's enough for you to go to a popular major like computer science. Bai Wei Kai glanced at Lin Yi's transcript and said with some surprise. I like to study medicinal herbs, Lin Yi said. All right, you win. That's a very good reason. Bai Wei Kai nodded and said, however, there's still a problem. You have to be careful of that old man of mine. It's different from the other professors. It's a bit like a master teaching his disciple. If you want to bluff your way through, hee. What? Is he going to hit people? Lin Yi asked curiously. Beat someone up? Hee, that's nothing. I guarantee that there will be someone even more terrifying than you. Bai Wei Kai shook his head with a bitter smile. Mix a bunch of herbs together and let you separate them one by one. If you can't separate them, you will fail all the final exams. I guarantee that you will be in heaven and hell when the time comes. Lin Yi was speechless. Is this difficult? My old man has been asking me to do this since I was a child, right? Moreover, this was only the beginning. After that, he crushed all the herbs and made them into powder for me to distinguish. Later, he directly boiled them into medicine soup to let me taste what was in them. How is it? Are you afraid? Bai Wei Kai saw Lin Yi's expression and thought that he was afraid. He said with some pride, however, my brother and I grew up in this environment. When we were young, we were extremely resentful. But now when we grew up, we liked the smell of this medicinal herb. I'm not afraid. What's there to be afraid of? Lin Yi shook his head. Heh, don't be so stubborn. Many new students are like this. In the end. Hee. Bai Wei Kai said, however, if you don't skip classes and abide by the rules, They won't make things difficult for you. Oh, so I can skip classes if I can distinguish the herbs. Lin Yi said according to his own understanding. Gosh, in theory that's true. But I don't dare to say that I can find and identify all the herbs without missing a single one. Bai Weikai shook his head and smiled bitterly. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Bai Weikai didn't wait for Lin Yi to reply. He waved his hand behind Lin Yi. Little Tua, you bastard. Why are you so late? Your brother is bored to death. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He knew that Bai Weikai's brother was here. When he turned around, he was shocked. No wonder he felt that the name Bai Weikai was so familiar. It turned out that he didn't hear the name Bai Weikai, but his brother's name, Bai Weikai. Don't mention it. After you left, Grandpa made me a strong man to help him dry the herbs. I did it all morning, Bai Weikai said gloomily. However, as soon as he finished speaking, his eyes fell on Lin Yi and he exclaimed, Hee hee. Lin Yi smiled and nodded at Bai Weikai. Big brother, why are you here too? Bai Weikai was surprised and happy to see Lin Yi. Grandpa had been talking about Lin Yi for a while, but he didn't have the chance to see Lin Yi. Bai Weikai saw Lin Yi here. As Lin Yi was Grandpa's savior, he naturally called Lin Yi Big Brother. I'm in charge of the new student registration. Why am I not here? Bai Weikai was stunned and looked at his brother inexplicably. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about this big brother. Bai Weikai shook his head and pointed at Lin Yi. You know each other? Bai Weikai was even more puzzled. He didn't expect that he misunderstood. His little brother called Lin Yi Big Brother. He is Grandpa's savior. When I was taking the college entrance examination, he saved Grandpa. Bai Weikai said. Ah, you are Grandpa's savior. Bai Weikai jumped up and walked around the table to the front of Lin Yi. He grabbed Lin Yi's hand. Brother, I've neglected you before. It turns out that you saved my grandfather. Thank you, really thank you. Haha, no wonder you didn't think much of it just now. With this kindness, my grandfather wouldn't make things difficult for you. You wouldn't have failed the course even if you didn't come to class. Lin Yi was a little speechless. I mean, I can identify those medicinal herbs. That's easy. Ugh. That's true. Only then did Bai Weikai remember that Lin Yi didn't know who he was before he met Bai Weitua. If Lin Yi was able to save his ancestor, then he must be someone with great medical skills. Then he might be able to identify the herbs as easily as he said. The School Bell's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full text. Chapter 1868. Excuse me. Is there anyone here? Are you guys here to report in as well? Just when Bai Weikai was about to shed tears of gratitude, a weak female voice came from behind them. It was another familiar voice. Lin Yi paused and turned around. Wang Xinyan. Lin Yi? Xinyan's eyes widened as she realized that fate was just that wonderful. The two of them hadn't crossed paths in life before, but somehow, fate had brought them together again and again. On the train, on the plane, in the exam hall, the two of them had always been sitting in the same seat. Net. In the business district of Songshan, it was Lin Yi who helped her out. She didn't expect to see Lin Yi again at the registration place. This made Wang Xinyan's cold heart ripple. Was this what the ancients called God's will? Was it fate? But it was just a random thought. Wang Xinyan shook these unrealistic thoughts away. She thought about her fate and sighed. Medicine wasn't her choice. She applied for business administration at Donghai Industry University, but House Xiao used their connections to transfer her to medicine. Wang Xinyan knew that this was preparation for her marriage with House Kong in the future. Wang Xinyan knew that this was preparation for her future marriage with House Kong. Net. With the end of the noble house meeting, the Xiao family and the Kong family kept in contact. The marriage was also put on the agenda. The matter between the Kong family and the hidden house of the right had been arranged by the Xiao family, so the Xiao family knew all about it. Both families had the support of the hidden families behind them, so it was natural that they hit it off well if they wanted to continue working together. Although the Kong family's medical company had suffered a great blow this time, the two brothers of the Xiao family also understood that as long as the hidden Yu family behind the Kong family continued to support them, the Kong family would not fall. Therefore, the marriage was a good thing for the two families. Wang Xinyan was the victim of this incident. She was helpless, but she couldn't change her fate. You're here to report? Lin Yi looked at Xinyan in amazement. It was hard for him to imagine that a girl would choose such a boring major. Yeah. Xinyan nodded, not bothering to explain. She'd always been a quiet girl, and it was only when she was at her weakest that she revealed her heart to Lin Yi. Me too. These two are Bai Weikai and Bai Weitua. Bai Weikai is our senior, and he calls himself Little Kai Bro. Bai Weitua is a new student just like us. Lin Yi introduced. When Bai Weikai saw the beautiful woman, he was originally full of interest. However, when he realized that she and Lin Yi already knew each other, he immediately lost interest. He couldn't take advantage of his friend's wife, and he couldn't have any fantasies about his benefactor's wife. Otherwise, if his grandfather found out, he would definitely skin him alive. Ah! Sorry for the trouble, Senior Bai. Xinyan handed the letter over to Bai Weikai. Net. Of course. Bai Weikai quickly helped Xinyan with the procedures. Little Tua, you take my place here. I'll bring my benefactor and this student Wang to handle the other procedures. No need, I'll go with Lin Bro. Bai Weitua said. You should stay here and receive the new students. After saying that, Bai Weitua took the lead and walked forward. Bai Weikai was a little helpless. He could only sit back in his seat, a little depressed. It wasn't easy for him to meet someone he could talk to, and it was his grandfather's savior, but his little brother got there first. Lin Bro, Wang classmate, I'm familiar with this school. I grew up here. I'll show you around when I have time. Bai Weitua said. Sure. Lin Yi nodded, but was a little confused. If you're from Donghai, why are you taking the exams in Songshan? My hometown is Songshan, my parents work there, and my household registration is there. Naturally, I'm taking the exams there. Bai Weitua explained. So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded and didn't ask any more. After all, they weren't familiar with each other yet. He didn't know if Bai Weitua would be willing to tell him if he kept asking. Bai Weitua had already brought Lin Yi and Xinyan to the payment area, and it was only then that Lin Yi realized that all the freshmen paid the fees at the same place. He'd just been here with Meng Yao and Yushu before. Of course, Lin Yi hadn't been to a university before, so he didn't have any experience. He thought that every faculty was different. Of course, some universities were different, but some universities all paid at the same financial office. The place to collect the dorm keys and supplies was the same as well. What surprised Lin Yi was that Bai Weitua was very familiar with the teacher in charge here. He greeted him and said with a smile, Mr. Zhang, help me arrange the dorm room with him. Oh, no problem. Mr. Zhang agreed readily. It was obvious that Bai Weitua and the teacher were very familiar with each other. After taking the keys and supplies, Bai Weitua explained, We've been helping our grandpa take care of the new students since before my brother entered the university. You know, Lin Bro, our major is a super small one, and we obviously don't have enough staff. So we've been acting as receptionists every year, and we're quite familiar with the teachers here. Lin Yi nodded. No wonder the teacher in charge of the dorm allocation had agreed to it without hesitation. Do you want me to send you to your room? Lin Yi asked as he looked at Xinyan. It's fine, I can do it myself. Xinyan was carrying a big bag of stuff, and it was a little difficult to carry it with her. Lin Yi took half of the stuff in her hands with a smile. He didn't take all of it, however, since that would make it seem like he had ulterior motives. Lin Yi had a good impression of Xinyan, but it wasn't to the point where he wanted to fawn over her. Then, thank you. Xinyan blushed a little. She didn't know why, but there was always a special feeling whenever she was with Lin Yi. It was a little dull, but it was warm. It was a strange feeling. Ah, it's nothing. Lin Yi smiled. With Bai Weitua leading the way, the three walked towards the girls' dormitory. Lin Yi had just come back from there, but Bai Weitua assumed that both Lin Yi and Xinyan didn't know about it. He took the initiative to explain where each path led to. There are 4 cafeterias. Number 1 is the staff cafeteria, number 2 and 3 are the student cafeterias, and number 4. Heh, it's actually a big restaurant. You can order food there, and all the rich students go there. Bai Weitua explained. That's the gymnasium and the swimming pool. They're open 24/7, but there aren't many people in the middle of the night. If you're lucky, you might see something really exciting. Chapter 1869. Something exciting? There's a ghost in the swimming pool? Lin Yi paused, thinking of something like a school ghost story. Net. Ahem. Bai Weitua started laughing. How is that possible? I'm talking about a couple having sex in the water. But then Bai Weitua remembered that there was a girl beside him. That wasn't a very nice thing to say. As expected, Xinyan turned away shyly, pretending not to hear what Bai Weitua said. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was speechless. He didn't know what to say. They all said that couples in university were very open, but they didn't have to go this far, did they? Lin Yi walked Xinyan all the way to the entrance of the dorm. He didn't wait for the gatekeeper to say anything before stopping. The female dorms were all in this building, so the gatekeeper was still the same one. Let's stop here, I can't go in, Lin Yi said as he pointed at the sign in the dorm lobby. Okay, Xinyan nodded and took the luggage from Lin Yi with a smile. Thank you. Okay, see you later. Lin Yi nodded and walked out of the female dorm with Bai Weitua. This place didn't allow boys to come and go, so it wasn't appropriate for them to stay here for long. After Lin Yi left, Xinyan was stopped by the gatekeeper. Xinyan paused. Is there something I can help you with? I'm a new student here. It's okay. I just have something to remind you. The boy who sent you just now sent two beautiful girls here. Looking at how intimate they are, one of them seems to be his girlfriend. Don't be fooled by him. The gatekeeper aunt said earnestly. That's right. That's right. Ah. Xinyan blinked. Over the years, I've been the building manager of this dormitory. I've seen too many girls who have been cheated by their relationships. Sigh, I'm just reminding you that it's up to you to grasp it yourself. The gatekeeper said. Thank you. Xinyan didn't know what to say. She knew that Lin Yi had a girlfriend, and they'd even had a meal together in Yanjing. But what did that have to do with her? It seemed like the gatekeeper had misunderstood her relationship with Lin Yi. But Xinyan didn't explain. She nodded to the gatekeeper with a smile and went upstairs. The guard lady sighed softly at Xinyan's nonchalant face. She knew that Xinyan wouldn't listen to her. It wasn't that the doorkeeper was a busybody, but every time she saw those girls who were heartbroken, she really couldn't bear to see them lose their souls. She wanted to remind them in advance, but how many of them would really listen? Bai Weitua looked a little excited as he walked out of the girls' dorm. Big bro Lin, that's Wang Xinyan you like, right? Why do you ask? Lin Yi paused. Net. It feels like you guys are quite special. Both of you have feelings for each other. I don't think it's over yet. Bai Weitua analyzed. Stop guessing. There's no such thing. Lin Yi shook his head. But he had to admit that there was a hint of tacit understanding between him and Xinyan. There was a trace of special fate. Hee hee. Bai Weitua smiled mischievously. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. This kid was so mischievous. From what he said, it was obvious that he'd been to the swimming pool to peek. You have a girlfriend? But Bai Weitua's head drooped as soon as Lin Yi asked the question. Nope. Don't mention it. Grandpa's too strict. I'm right under his nose. How could I have a girlfriend? But now that I'm in university, I'm free. I have to get a pretty girl. I wish you success. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Haha, it's not even confirmed yet. I saw that there was a pretty girl in our department, but since she's Lin Yi's type, I'll have to give up and look for another target. It's not a bad idea to look at different departments. I heard that there are a lot of girls in the economics department. Hee. I'll see if I know anyone. We can have a dorm party. Bai Weitua knew a lot about university life. Lin Yi wanted to say that he had friends in the economics department, but the guy looked like a pervert. He didn't know why, but he didn't want him to see Meng Yao and Yushu. What if this guy went after them? But Lin Yi was curious about his own selfishness. Under Bai Weitua's lead, Lin Yi came to the male dormitory. It was a newly built building, and it had a brand new feel to it. How's it? Not bad, right? Big brother Lin, our batch of freshmen has caught up with the good times. This dormitory building is newly built, and the tables, chairs, and beds are all new. The dormitory is also very clean, unlike the dormitories of those fourth-year students, which are in a terrible state. Bai Weitua said. It can't be that bad, can it? Lin Yi said, surprised. That's underestimating these people's ability to pollute. Bai Weitua said, I've seen it a lot here. There are all kinds of birds in a big forest. There was a brother from last year's batch who woke up in the middle of the night and was too lazy to pee in the toilet, so he peed at the wall in front of the door. The other guys in his dorm were all slobs too, and they followed suit. Guess what happened? How was it? Lin Yi asked. After they graduated, the wall behind the door was covered with moss. When they graduated, the janitor who was responsible for cleaning the dormitory thought that their dormitory was a converted toilet. The wooden door was covered with fungus. Bai Weitua said. So exaggerated? Lin Yi was puzzled. It could actually grow fungus. Did the people in this dormitory regularly pick them for cooking? Although it's a little exaggerated, it's close. Bai Weitua nodded and said. The two of them went upstairs and arrived at the entrance of room 444. Lin Yi looked at the room number and said, This room number is pretty awesome. Boss, are you superstitious? Bai Weitua asked. If you don't like it, you can change rooms. But the 4th floor is the dormitory room for our medicine department. No matter how you change it, it will start from 44. Unless you share a room with a student from another department. Never mind. I quite like it. Lin Yi took out the room card indifferently and opened the door. The two of them entered the dormitory. There were no other students in the dormitory. Boss, we have the beds on this side. One is by the window, and the other is by the door. Which one do you like? Bai Weitua pointed at the bed on the side and asked. This was a 4-person dormitory. The bed and the desk were one, and the bed was on top of the desk. It was a standard modern university dormitory. Chapter 1870. Anywhere is fine. Which one do you like? Lin Yi said nonchalantly. Net. Then I'll choose. I want the one by the door. It's convenient when I go to the bathroom at night. Bai Weitua said. That's how you can save a few steps? Lin Yi was surprised. The two beds were next to each other. It would only take a few seconds to walk, right? Hee. You'll know after living here for a while. Don't think that the dorm is empty now. When the time comes, there will be things and simple clothes racks all over the floor. It'll be dark. People without any skills will need some skills to walk out of the dorm without any damage. Plus, the power is off at night, and there are no lights. Bai Weitua said, Brother Lin, it's not too late to regret. It's fine. I'll take the one by the window. The view is good. Lin Yi said nonchalantly. As for the lack of lights at night, it didn't matter. As long as there was a trace of light, Lin Yi could see things clearly. However, Bai Weitua was experienced. Lin Yi heard that many university students would fight for the window seat when they came to school. They thought that the sunlight was good and the view was good. But in less than a semester, they found that the floor was full of things. It was too far from the door, and it was too bad. The two of them made the bed, and not long after, the door to the dormitory was pushed open. A chubby guy wearing a pair of thick glasses walked in, looking like a dull pedant. Net. This is 444. The dorm of the medical major? The chubby guy asked when he saw Lin Yi and Bai Weitua in the room. Yes, bro. This is the right place. Bai Weitua walked over and said to the chubby guy enthusiastically, Let me introduce myself. I'm Bai Weitua, also a medical major. This is my brother, Lin Yi. We'll be roommates from now on. Ah, hello. I'm Xianxia. Chubby Tootsie hurriedly introduced himself. I thought I'd have to sleep with other majors. I didn't expect everyone to be the same. Damn, if it's a major that doesn't even have dozens of people, then it's better to cancel it. Bai Weitua said, Why did you apply for this major? Oh, my family grows medicinal herbs. It just so happened that I saw this major, and it's a good match for my family's business, so I signed up. Xianxia said, But the main reason is that I've been dealing with medicinal herbs since I was young, so my basic knowledge is solid. This major is easy for me, and it's easy for me to graduate. To tell you the truth, I actually paid my own way here. Haha, looking at you wearing glasses, I thought you were a top student, not easy to get along with. When Bai Weitua heard Xianxia's words, he knew that this guy was not the kind of person who was difficult to get along with. Bullshit, what top student? Zhao Shengji shook his head. My eyes, I read novels. Recently, I read a book called Immortal Dan God. It's very good. Do you guys read novels? Yes, but there's no need to look at the eyes like that, right? I like to read very pure, very ambiguous prequel. Bai Weitua said. Hi, it's a long story. There's no electricity at my medicinal garden at night, so I lit candles to read it. Zhao Shengji said with some regret. Bai Weitua and Lin Yi were speechless. They thought to themselves, can't you read it during the day or on your phone? But looking at his miserable appearance, they still didn't say it. As they were talking, another boy walked in from the dormitory. This guy was handsome and elegant, but he had a bit of a sissy feeling. He heard Lin Yi and the others discussing novels, and he rushed over with a whoosh sound. He slapped his thigh and shouted, Kindred Spirit, I read it too. I've been reading War God Transformation recently. It's also very good. Lin Yi Bai Weitua and Zhao Shengji looked at this guy who suddenly ran out and were a little puzzled. Let me introduce myself. My name is Song Xiaodao, and I'm also from this dormitory. The boy scratched his head in embarrassment and said. Seeing Song Xiaodao like this, Bai Weitua was relieved. In a university dormitory, the most terrible thing was to meet people who were difficult to get along with. They had lived here for 4 years. No one would be happy to meet such an unsociable person. But seeing that Zhao Shengji and Song Xiaodao were easygoing people, and Lin Yi wasn't that kind of old-fashioned person, Bai Weitua felt that he was very lucky. I'm going to report to the department tomorrow. There's nothing going on today. We brothers will be in the same trench in the future. Let's go out and have a meal together? I'll treat. Bai Weitua said as he patted his chest. That's great. I like to eat the most. Zhao Shengji patted his round belly and said. Sure, but I'll treat you guys. I was the last to come, so I'm considered a newcomer. Song Xiaodao said. Don't argue. There will be plenty of opportunities. We'll just have one meal each. Lin Yi laughed. He didn't reject this kind of beautiful university life. On the contrary, he felt that it was very real and happy. It was a very good thing to be able to meet a few friends and good brothers. Since the pharmaceutical company became busy, and Kong Xiaobo also knew some things about him. Although the relationship between the two didn't change, they could no longer find the feeling when they were in school. It could be said that Kong Xiaobo had matured, grown up, and had a sense of responsibility. However, he lacked the happy feeling of being with a young person. On the other hand, Lin Yi had been wandering for too long. He wanted to return to this natural and warm life, but he didn't expect that when he was in Song's Han, he would be involved in more complicated forces and conspiracies. Now that he came to Donghai City, everything started from the beginning. Lin Yi also wanted to have some ordinary university life. That's right. Song Xiaodao slapped his thigh. Sure, it's my treat next time. The four locked the door and followed Bai Weitua to the school's cafeteria number 4. Lin Yi took out his phone and hesitated. He wanted to call Meng Yao and Yushu and invite them to eat together, but he didn't know his friends very well, and it was Bai Weitua's treat. It wouldn't be good to ask them to come. Besides, maybe their roommates would go out to eat as well? As expected, before Lin Yi could make the call, he received a message. It was from the Mississippi. She told Lin Yi that her roommates had just met and were going out to eat. She told Lin Yi to take care of himself. Big bro Lin, do you want to ask Wang Xinyan to come with us? Bai Weitua saw that Lin Yi took out his phone and thought that he wanted Wang Xinyan to come with him. Then let her come. We'll be in the same major anyway. Or should I say in the same class? We'll be in the same major. What's going on? What's going on? Song Xiaodao came over and looked at Lin Yi. Is there something going on? Chapter 1871. It's a female friend of Big Bro Lin. She's also in our medical major. She's interested in you, but we haven't started yet. Bai Weitua said. No way? So fast. Song Xiaodao beat his chest and stamped his feet. I've heard that there are very few girls in this major. I didn't expect you to take all the resources first. Why are you so unambitious? Can't you look further? Isn't it too limiting? Is the whole school not enough for you? Bai Weitua said. Do you think it's high school? Each class is each class. University has become the era of big classrooms. Different majors and even different departments have classes together. You're right. Song Xiaodao nodded. Big bro Lin, why don't you call? Bai Weitua urged. It's best to let her bring her classmates out too. Let's have a friendship dorm. As long as they come, I'll invite them all. That's right. Bro, hurry up and call. We're counting on you. Song Xiaodao said eagerly. It seemed that he was very concerned about Bai Weitua's last words. Then, I'll try. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It seemed that he had to call. Everyone was looking forward to it. He didn't want to be a wet blanket. He dialed Wang Xinyan's number. The call was quickly connected. Wang Xinyan's voice came through. Lin Yi? What's the matter? Are you free now? Let's have a meal together? Lin Yi asked. Now, you're asking me out for a meal? Wang Xinyan was stunned. Her face was a little hot. She didn't know why, but she was a little nervous. She heard that university was a paradise for love, but Wang Xinyan's marriage had been decided by her family. She didn't pay much attention to these things. Lin Yi's call, however, made Wang Xinyan feel a little strange. It's like this. Bai Weitua said that he wants to have a dorm marriage. He wants to ask you to invite all the sisters in the dorm. It's his treat. Lin Yi was afraid that Wang Xinyan would misunderstand, so he explained. So that's how it is. Xinyan let out a breath of relief, but she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed at the same time. She didn't even realize it. I'll give it a try. We're going to eat together anyway. Then I'll wait for your good news. Lin Yi said, we're at cafeteria number 4. Okay. Xinyan hung up. I've tried my best, but I'm not sure if I can make it. Lin Yi shrugged. It should be about the same, right? Bai Weitua said, everyone is a new student, there is no harm in having a get-together. Cafeteria number 4 was the busiest today. Freshmen started school, and many students from the dormitory would come here for a meal. Of course, there were also those who felt that the quality of the cafeteria wasn't high enough or that it was too high class, so they chose to go to restaurants outside the school. In short, cafeteria number 4 was the kind of well-to-do, more high-end than the snack stalls outside the school. However, it was still a little worse than a big restaurant. The 4 of them walked into the cafeteria, found a slightly larger table, and sat down. A waiter came over to take their order. Wait a minute, there are still 4 more people. Bai Weitua said to the waiter. The waiter nodded and went to busy himself with the other tables. After a while, Wang Xinyan's phone call came back. Lin Yi picked up the phone, and it was Wang Xinyan who called. Xinyan, how is it? Lin Yi naturally omitted the surname. It wasn't that he did it intentionally, but they were old acquaintances, and it was a little strange to directly call her by her name. Wang Xinyan was slightly stunned. She didn't expect Lin Yi to call her that, but her dormitory sisters were watching from the side, so she didn't say much. She just said, we have discussed it, and they all agreed. Where are you guys? It's in cafeteria number 4. You can see it if you bring someone over. We are on the 1st floor. Lin Yi said. Okay, then you wait for us. Wang Xinyan nodded. Done. Lin Yi hung up the phone and said to the 4 perverts in the dormitory who were staring at them. Big brother Lin, I knew your relationship with Wang Xinyan wasn't normal. Bai Weitua said excitedly. Lin Yi didn't try to explain. Sometimes the more you tried to explain, the less people would believe you. Not long after, Wang Xinyan brought 3 girls to cafeteria number 4. Among the 4, the most eye-catching one wasn't Wang Xinyan, but the other girl. However, Lin Yi could tell that the other girl won with makeup and clothes, and Wang Xinyan didn't even have light makeup on, looking pure and innocent. If Wang Xinyan dressed up, she would definitely be more outstanding than the other girl, but Wang Xinyan wasn't that kind of girl. Wang Xinyan, over here. Lin Yi didn't even get to greet him when Bai Weitua stood up abruptly and waved impatiently. Xinyan, is this your boyfriend? He doesn't look very outstanding. The girl with the most eye-catching clothes saw Bai Weitua and looked him up and down. You're the baby of our dormitory. No matter what happened before, you have to be tested by the sisters now. Bai Weitua paused, and Wang Xinyan was embarrassed. It was obvious that the girl had mistaken him for someone else, but how was she supposed to explain that? Could it be that Bai Weitua wasn't her boyfriend, but Lin Yi was? But Lin Yi wasn't her boyfriend. She'd already explained this to her roommates before, but in their eyes, there had to be something going on between them. She'd just arrived at school and a guy was already asking her out. He's not Lin Yi. Wang Xinyan didn't have a choice. He's Bai Weitua, my medical student. You're looking for Big Brother Lin? This is him. Bai Weitua introduced Lin Yi to the eye-catching girl, but his eyes were glued to the girl. Hello, I'm Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled as he stood up. But I'm not Xinyan's boyfriend. We're just good friends. Lin Yi's words were appropriate, but Wang Xinyan was a little annoyed. Shouldn't she be the one explaining? Why did it seem like Lin Yi was more eager to cut ties with her than she was? But Wang Xinyan was a calm person, and didn't say anything. The eye-catching girl, on the other hand, paused and looked at Lin Yi, a little surprised. She held out her hand. I'm Himeiwe, Xinyan's roommate. Nice to meet you. Hello Himeiwe. Lin Yi shook her hand lightly with a smile before letting go. The school beauty's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full article. Chapter 1872. This action made Himeiwe very surprised. Generally, when boys saw her, they would think about how to get close to her or take advantage of her. But Lin Yi didn't seem to have this intention at all. His eyes were always clear, and his attitude towards Wang Xinyan made Himeiwe even more surprised. Could it be that there was really nothing between him and Wang Xinyan? My name is Bai Weitua, Big Brother Lin's little brother. Bai Weitua waited for Lin Yi to shake hands, and he couldn't wait to extend his hand. Himeiwe frowned slightly, but she still shook hands with him. As for Zhao Shengji and Song Xiaodao, they saw that Himeiwe wasn't interested, so they didn't extend their hands again. But beside Himeiwe, a girl with a baby face pointed at Zhao Shengji and exclaimed, "Wow, I know you!" Zhao Shengji was stunned and looked at the baby-faced girl strangely. He thought hard, but he couldn't remember when he saw this girl. Previously at the school gate, you bought 10 buns, and you finished them in 5 bites. 2 buns in 1 bite. So amazing. The baby-faced girl said, "It's you, this chubby guy. I was dumbfounded looking at you." Zhao Shengji suddenly sweated. "I just got off the car, I'm just a little hungry." Himeiwe heard the baby-faced girl's words and laughed, and Wang Xinyan couldn't help but laugh. He is Zhao Shengji. Looking at his body, it's not strange to eat 2 buns in 1 bite, right? Bai Weitua smiled and introduced. "Hello, my name is Chai Xiaoling." The baby-faced girl covered her mouth and greeted Zhao Shengji. "Xiaoling is the 4th in our dormitory, Xinyan is the 3rd, and this is the 2nd, Lan Xiaoru, but she already has a boyfriend, so don't have any ideas about her," Himeiwe said. The 4 sat down on the other side of the table, and Wang Xinyan, intentionally or unintentionally, was arranged to sit opposite Lin Yi, which made Wang Xinyan and Lin Yi feel a little helpless. In this era of gossip, the more you explain, the more you cover up. Bai Weitua reached out to the waiter to order. After he took the menu, he gave it to Lin Yi first. At this time, he still didn't forget that Lin Yi was his grandfather's savior, so he didn't try to please Himeiwe. Lin Yi, on the other hand, handed it to Xinyan. "You guys pick." However, Lin Yi's casual action made him greatly regret it. Because, from the corner of his eye, he saw 2 familiar figures walking into the cafeteria. It was Meng Yao and Yushu. His relationship with Wang Xinyan had already been misunderstood by them back in the business district, and now they were eating together in public, with Lin Yi handing the menu to Wang Xinyan. Their relationship was probably going to get complicated. Lin Yi saw Meng Yao, and naturally, Meng Yao saw Lin Yi as well. She frowned slightly. "Yao Yao, why is Shield Bro hitting on girls?" Yushu lowered her voice. Who knows? He had forgotten about Yun Yun. Naturally, he went to hit on someone else. Meng Yao looked at Lin Yi's action, a little displeased. But he can't hit on someone else. Don't let the goodies go to outsiders. He should be hitting on us. Yushu said, "Is it because we're too close and it's not good to kill them?" Meng Yao was a little speechless. Yao Yao, Yun Yun passed away. She entrusted Shield Bro to us, so we should take up this responsibility and protect Yun Yun's love. We can't let Shield Bro fool around. Even if we fight, He can only fool around with us. Yushu nagged in Mengyao's ear. My roommates are here today. Forget it, let's talk when we get back. Mengyao glanced at her two roommates not far from her. It wasn't a good idea to talk to Lin Yi. It wouldn't be good if people misunderstood. Okay. Yushu nodded, then let's let Shield Bro have some fun. Lin Yi saw that Mengyao and Yushu didn't look at him after talking to each other. He knew that they weren't too happy, but it was understandable. He invited Wang Xinyan but didn't invite them. Anyone would be unhappy. However, Lin Yi was also complaining in his heart. If it wasn't for the mistext saying that they would eat by themselves, Lin Yi would have called them. Lin Yi retracted his gaze helplessly. Fortunately, no one noticed him. Everyone's eyes were on He Meiyue and Chai Shaoling. As for Lan Xiaoru, who had a boyfriend, although she looked pretty and had the temperament of a lady, no one paid attention to her anymore. After all, the purpose of Bai Weitua's dorm get-together was very simple, and that was to solve the problem of being single. In our dorm, He Meiyue is the big sister. Who is the boss in your dorm? Will he be in charge of the dorm get-together from now on? Chai Shaoling asked. Since he's in charge of communication, then it'll be Lin Yi. Bai Weitua calls him Big Bro, so let him be our dorm leader? Zhao Shengji knew that he didn't have any leadership skills, and he didn't have any connections. Since the dorm leader was in charge of communication, he definitely couldn't do it. Yeah, our dorm leader will be in charge of Lin Yi from now on. Song Xiaodao nodded. And so, just like that, Lin Yi became the head of the dorm. Of course, being the head of the dorm wasn't exactly a good job. There was no salary, no benefits, and he had to be responsible for the welfare of everyone. The most he could do was give some orders when it came to cleaning the dorm, but the benefits were far too small compared to the price he had to pay. Lin Yi was distracted for a while, and in the end, a dorm leader came. He was a little speechless, but he didn't refute. It could be seen that Wang Xinyan and Lin Yi were the kind of quiet people, and they were a good match at this dinner table. Bai Weitua and He Meiyue were the kind of people who were very talkative. From time to time, they would say a few jokes, making everyone laugh. Zhao Shengji and Song Xiaodao were also people who couldn't stay idle, but the two's main targets were He Meiyue and Chai Shaoling. As for Lan Xiaoru and Wang Xinyan, they didn't have any ideas. Lan Xiaoru had a noble and generous temperament, as if she came from a big family. Her speech was appropriate and generous, and it made people feel very close, but it also made people naturally have a kind of respect. This was the mystery of communication, not too close but not too distant. After a meal, the host and guests were happy. Bai Weitua, Zhao Shengji, Song Xiaodao, He Meiyue, Chai Shaoling, and the others also became familiar with each other. Everyone made an appointment to get together often in the future. After lunch, everyone returned to their respective dorms. It could be seen that Bai Weitua seemed to have taken a liking to He Meiyue, and he talked about her everywhere. As for Zhao Shengji and Song Xiaodao, it wasn't so obvious. Both of them were obviously observing, and it could be said that they didn't have a special target yet. They wouldn't have locked onto a target before school started. The school bell's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full text. Chapter 1873. As for Lin Yi, he couldn't explain his relationship with Wang Xinyan, so he didn't say anything. In the afternoon in the dorm, everyone had nothing to do, so they played cards. Lin Yi also played happily, but at about 4 in the afternoon, Lin Yi's phone rang. It was a message from Mississippi. Are you going back? It was only 4 words, and it was obvious that Miss was still angry. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly, but this mindless sentence, Lin Yi understood. Meng Yao asked if he was going back to the newly bought villa. So Lin Yi quickly replied, "Go back, wait for me in the parking lot." After sending the message, Lin Yi apologized to his roommates. "I'm sorry, I have something to do tonight. I'll go out first, I may not come back. See you tomorrow morning, you guys play first." "No way. Big bro Lin, you are going to get a room with Xinyan?" Bai Weitua's eyes widened in surprise. "Isn't this too fast?" "No, you guys have known each other for a long time. There must be an affair before." Song Xiaodao speculated. "Ha! What are you guys talking about?" Zhao Shengji just finished a few bread and butter. He didn't hear what Lin Yi said. "None of your business. Continue eating, you foodie." Bai Weitua rolled his eyes because he realized that Zhao Shengji's mouth was almost never idle. After returning from Cafeteria 4, this guy went to the supermarket downstairs to buy a lot of snacks. He ate while playing cards. Bai Weitua didn't know how his stomach could hold so many things. Stop guessing, it's not her. Lin Yi shrugged and said helplessly, if you don't believe me, you can call her dorm later. Before dinner, although they weren't familiar enough to exchange phone numbers, they did exchange their dorm numbers, and promised to keep in touch in the future. So after listening to Lin Yi, everyone lost interest in continuing to investigate. How could they know that Lin Yi didn't go out with Wang Xinyan for the night? Instead, he went to spend the night with two beauties. Lin Yi did not use his innate qi, but his speed was not comparable to ordinary people. Although the female dormitory was closer to the parking lot than the male dormitory, Lin Yi still arrived at the parking lot first. Meng Yao and Yu Shu calmed down a little. Shield bro. Hurry up and pacify Yao Yao. She's getting mad at you for treating a pretty girl to dinner. Yu Shu said to Lin Yi after getting in the car. Heh. Actually, it's nothing much. It's just that our dorm friends want to have a dorm marriage. But you guys said you guys already had plans, so I got someone from Wang Xinyan's dorm to come out. Lin Yi explained with a smile. You don't have to explain to me. I'm not your employer right now. Meng Yao humphed lightly. I'm just reminding you that you have a girlfriend. Don't go around flirting all the time. I have a girlfriend. Right. Lin Yi would sometimes forget that he had a girlfriend until Meng Yao reminded him of Xiao, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't remember anything about Xiao. It felt like there was a gap in his memory. The process of them getting to know each other and falling in love. It was disjointed, and he felt like something was missing. So, although Lin Yi would feel a strong sense of longing whenever he thought of Xiao, it was easy to ignore it when he didn't think of her. Xiao is my only girlfriend? Lin Yi frowned. He felt like he'd forgotten something important after the deviation, but he couldn't remember what it was. It was just an intuition. Lin Yi wasn't sure if it was true or not. Ah, Shield bro. You remember now? Yushu was shocked as she looked at Lin Yi, surprised. Ouch. She turned to Meng Yao, confused. Yao, why did you pinch me? Oh, I get it now. What do I remember? What are you trying to say, Shu? Lin Yi looked at Yushu strangely. I'm saying, do you remember that Yao is your other girlfriend? Yushu said with a straight face. What? Lin Yi blinked. Shu, what are you talking about? Meng Yao blushed. Evidently, Shu had misunderstood. Meng Yao was reminding Yushu not to spill the beans. It was impossible for Lin Yi to remember Tang Yun. He must have felt that something was wrong, and that was why he asked that question. But Shu obviously thought that Yushu wanted to be Lin Yi's girlfriend, so she twisted the truth. Ah, didn't you tell me to say that? Yushu looked at Meng Yao strangely. When did I tell you to say that? Okay, let's go home. I'm tired. Meng Yao was a little embarrassed. She humphed and didn't pursue Yushu's responsibility anymore. Lin Yi shook his head and started the car. Although he felt that something was wrong, he couldn't find anything strange from Meng Yao and Yushu's expressions. The car slowly left the parking lot, but something happened when they were about to leave the school gate. There was an entrance and an exit on the school side, and Lin Yi naturally left from the exit. There were a lot of cars lining up at the entrance, and a Bentley Continental that came later rushed to the exit, intending to enter the school. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was about to leave when the two cars met at the exit. Lin Yi wasn't a person who liked to cause trouble, but when faced with people who obviously didn't follow the rules, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't let them go. There was only one road at the exit, and it was difficult for a car to pass through. Of course, if it was a two-lane road, Lin Yi wouldn't mind letting it go, but now it was impossible for Lin Yi to go back. What Lin Yi didn't expect, however, was that the Bentley Continental was one step ahead of him before he could press the horn. The horn was obviously modified, and the sound was incredibly loud, almost deafening to the point where it felt like it was going to explode. The other party's arrogant behavior made Lin Yi frown. He turned to look at the miss, and found that the miss was also unhappy. Wasn't it just a sports car? As if others couldn't afford it. Meng Yao used to ride in a Bentley when she went to school, but it was much more expensive than this sports car. It was more than 9 million yuan. Motherfucker, hurry up and move aside. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that someone suddenly stood up from the other party's car and cursed at Lin Yi's car. The person was full of energy, and his voice was as loud as the previous horn sound. Lin Yi didn't know who his parents were, so he was very angry at this kind of words that insulted his parents. What made Lin Yi even more amused was that the person who stood up was actually an old acquaintance of Lin Yi, Huang Mao, the school beauty's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full text. Chapter 1874. Lin Yi slammed on the gas pedal, and the jeep shot out with a whoosh, ramming into the Bentley Continental and knocking it out of the car. Lin Yi's car had a clear advantage in terms of size, and this car was specially modified by the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. The front bumper was extraordinarily hard, so Lin Yi didn't suffer any losses in this collision. Instead, the front of the car in front of him was damaged. Net. The blonde was standing on his seat, scolding people. He didn't expect the car in front of him to suddenly crash into him, throwing him out of the car. Luckily, he was a mystic class master, so he wasn't injured. Young Master Yu, how have you been? Lin Yi got out of the car and looked coldly at the people in the sports car. Other than the blonde that Lin Yi had crashed into, there were actually 3 people in the back seat. Lin Yi was surprised. This 2-door, 4-seater sports car could actually seat 5 people. These people were really good at squeezing. Yu Coiling Tiger had just drunk and wasn't very sober, but as a practitioner, it naturally wouldn't affect his driving. At this moment, when he heard Lin Yi's voice, he immediately sobered up. Lin Yi. Yu Coiling Tiger's face showed a trace of fear. Although he hated Lin Yi to the core, this guy had embarrassed him many times. Yu Coiling Tiger wasn't an idiot. A master who could instantly kill Yu Shisan wasn't someone the people around him could fight against. Zhuang Niadao and Li Biaohan were originally very angry. In school, there was actually someone who dared to not give them face. Although it was Yu Coiling Tiger's car, the people in the car were the 2 local bullies. So, no matter who the person in front of them was, they wanted to help Yu Coiling Tiger. Especially when they found out that this person was actually the freshman who fought with them for the girl. How could Zhuang Niadao and Li Biaohan let him go so easily? However, when they heard Yu Coiling Tiger say, Lin Yi, the 2 of them who were about to get out of the car stopped abruptly. Lin Yi's name was like thunder to their ears. Both Zhuang Niadao and Li Biaohan had heard of this name. The power of a single move was enough to kill 3 Earth-class experts and a late-stage Earth-class expert. This kind of power made them pale with fright. Of course, they didn't think that these 2 people had the same name. If they had the same name, Right Coiling Tiger wouldn't have cried out involuntarily and his expression would be so ugly. Lin Yi's cold gaze swept across Zhuang Niadao and Li Biaohan. He never thought that he would meet these 2 here, and that they would actually be together with Right Coiling Tiger. But when he thought of their identity as practitioners, Lin Yi did not find it strange. Only the disciples of the hidden families would have such strength. Net. Since we're classmates, let's forget about what happened today. It's best if you don't appear in front of me again. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he turned around and got into his car. In the silence he drove away. After Lin Yi left, Li Biaohan asked in a low voice, Brother Right, that person is that Lin Yi? It's him. Right Coiling Tiger smiled bitterly. A hint of hatred flashed across his eyes. If it wasn't for that Lin Yi, with his status as the 2nd young master of the Yu clan, why would he be afraid of a grassroots wandering cultivator with no power? As for the Ice Palace's power, Right Coiling Tiger didn't think that Lin Yi would be able to use it. The disciples of the hidden families all understood that, although Lin Yi was familiar with the Ice Palace, it was impossible for Bingtang to stand up for Lin Yi. Let's not talk about the agreement between the ancient sections. As long as one didn't touch the other party's bottom line, or touch the person that the other party publicly declared to protect, then these heaven-class experts wouldn't casually stand up for them. After all, every heaven-class expert in the common world would more or less have friends and distant relatives. If every heaven-class expert were to casually enter and leave the common world because of these people, then the rules would be messed up. This was also the reason why the ancient sects agreed that heaven-class experts couldn't casually enter and leave the common world. Unless it was the kind of ancient sect that publicly sent out the message to protect someone. Touching this kind of person would mean that the ancient sect wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. It was just that most ancient sects wouldn't easily send out this kind of protection order. However, what really made Right Coiling Tiger afraid wasn't the Ice Palace's power, but Lin Yi's own strength. Speaking of the Ice Palace, The Yu clan had the even more powerful heavenly elixir sect to protect them. But Lin Yi's own strength could be said to be the #1 under the heaven realm. Instantly killing 3 Earth-class experts. Just thinking about it made people shudder. One move, killing 3 Earth-class experts. Could it be a rumor? Zhuang Niadeo frowned. He really couldn't understand how Lin Yi could have such power. No. Right Coiling Tiger sighed. Our House Yu's right 13th is an Earth-class mid-phase. Before, Lin Yi wasn't his opponent, but now, he doesn't even have a chance to fight back. Plus, from what I know, the Hidden House Yu's Yu Lu is also an Earth-class mid-phase, and the Hidden House Zhao's Zhao Guang Air is a Sky-class late phase. To not be able to fight back against him, that's enough to prove his strength. Zhuang Niadeo and Li Biaohan looked at each other. The two could see a trace of fear and luck in each other's eyes. Before, they didn't insist on fighting Lin Yi, so they saved their lives. One was a golden class late phase peak, and the other was a mystic early phase. These two weren't even enough to warm up for him. This I can attest to. Our Firewolf gang received the news as well. Li Biaohan smiled bitterly. The Firewolf gang's enforcer went to save Jiang Wen, only to lose to Lin Yi. It wasn't a secret in the Firewolf gang. Lin Yi. Humph. I'll cripple you sooner or later. Right Coiling Tiger's eyes flashed with anger. Zhuang Niadeo and Li Biaohan didn't dare say anything. Only Right Coiling Tiger could be this domineering, the strongest under Sky class. What kind of master would be able to fight him? Lin Yi returned to the car and drove Mengyao and Yushu to the school Shang district. Shield bro, that's Right Coiling Tiger? Yushu asked suddenly. Yeah, you even hit him with a bowling ball. Lin Yi said. What, don't you remember? Yes. Yushu was a little confused. Lin Yi seemed to remember everything except for the memories with Tang Yun, so her plan to say that Meng Yao was his girlfriend wasn't going to work. But I didn't think he'd recover this fast. It's normal for a family of medicine to have miraculous pills in their hands. Lin Yi didn't think there was anything wrong with Yushu's words. The three returned to the villa in the school Shang district. Grandma Sun had already prepared dinner and was waiting for them. At this moment, Grandma Sun was no longer the gloomy person she was when she was scavenging. After putting on a new set of clothes, there was a natural noble aura around her. Chapter 1875. Being a housekeeper in this villa wouldn't bring shame to the villa at all. Even the rich people in the villa area would naturally think that Grandma Sun was a housekeeper of some rich family when they saw her. Miracle Dr. Lin, Miss Chu, Miss Chen, you're back. Grandma Sun was overjoyed when she saw the three. I've prepared dinner, I've been waiting for you. Grandma Sun was very satisfied with her current life. She didn't have to pick up trash, she didn't have to worry about food and clothing. Other than cleaning the villa and cooking, she didn't have any other job. She could watch TV when she was free, it was quite relaxing. I told you, just call us by our names, you don't have to call us miracle doctors. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Then we'll call you Mr. Lin? I've seen that on TV, all the housekeepers call him that, Grandma Sun said. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Grandma Sun insisted, so Lin Yi couldn't do anything about it. One had to admit that Grandma Sun's cooking was quite good. Although it wasn't as good as Lin Yi's, it was much better than the food that Faubert brought back from the restaurant. It was also better than the food in the school cafeteria, so Mengyao and Yushu had a lot of fun eating. After dinner, Mengyao and Yushu watched The Happy Goat and Big Wolf for a while with Lin Yi accompanying them. After watching TV, Mengyao looked at Lin Yi. You have to go home on the weekends. You have to ask for leave in advance if something happens, and you have to be there whenever you want. Ugh. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. This was probably the negative impact of today's events. Lin Yi suspected that the miss from before had returned. However, Mengyao said, I'm looking after you on behalf of your girlfriend. Although I'm not your employer anymore, I promised her. Mengyao thought about it carefully and decided to be stricter with Lin Yi. Otherwise, if this guy was freed, he would turn around and hit on girls. How would she be able to face Tang Yun's request before she left? Yes, it was all for Tang Yun. There was no selfishness in it, Mengyao thought. Xiao. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It seemed that Xiao didn't care about these things. Lin Yi seemed to remember that Xiao didn't seem to care about his womanizing ways, didn't he? He wouldn't have ignored Yushu calling herself a small wife otherwise. However, before Lin Yi could finish his sentence, The Missy pulled Shu upstairs, leaving Lin Yi with a view of her back. Why didn't these two girls wear more clothes at home? Lin Yi thought. After moving to the new villa, Meng Yao and Yushu stayed upstairs, while Lin Yi stayed downstairs. But now there was a guest downstairs. Grandma Sunday General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig settled down at the back of the mansion. They were doing their part to protect the mansion. Yao Yao is so domineering. Are you ready to take on the role of the main wife? Yushu asked. What main wife? Meng Yao frowned. I'm just looking after him for Yun Yun. I don't want him to do anything stupid. But Yun Yun's sis said that they won't see each other anymore. Yushu said. What's the point of looking after him? Besides, didn't Yun Yun's sis entrust him to us? We'll be able to take over the position. Go ahead if you want to, I'm not. Meng Yao regretted after saying that. Did she really not want to? Or was she worried about something? Every time Meng Yao thought of Tang Yun's selfless eyes, her heart would ache. If she took Lin Yi away from her, would she be sad? Meng Yao realized that she was starting to care about Lin Yi. Or maybe it wasn't just a little. She shook her head and suppressed the messy thoughts in her mind. Meng Yao went to take a shower, and Yushu sighed and followed behind Meng Yao silently. Lin Yi went back to his room and prepared to start practicing the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. As for the last 7 forms of the frenzy fist, Lin Yi didn't think about it for now. According to Faubert, it could only be practiced by Earth class mid-phase, late phase, and late phase full phase. There were only 3 forms in the early phase. Lin Yi had forced himself to activate the 4th form, but it had failed. He felt that the qi in his body wasn't enough, as if he couldn't supply it. Perhaps being able to activate the first 3 forms at the early phase of Earth class was already his limit. It wasn't possible for him to activate the 4th form at all. Although Lin Yi was very satisfied with his current training progress, there was still a knot in Lin Yi's heart. It was the art of refinement. In terms of martial arts and practitioner's arts, Lin Yi could be said to have found the way. He just needed to practice them step by step, but he still hadn't found the knack for concocting pills. It had been a long time, and Lin Yi hadn't met anyone who could help him in the art of concocting pills. He did meet people from House Yu and the Sky Elixir sect, but the hatred was too deep. Even if Lin Yi asked Yu Coiling Tiger about the techniques and tricks, the guy wouldn't talk to him. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. There was still more than a year left, but Lin Yi was very nervous. He promised Xiao and Crystal Candy that he would make an Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill and send it to them within 2 years. But, every time he thought of Xiao, Lin Yi would have a feeling of doubt. In Lin Yi's mind, Xiao should be his small wife, so having a small wife should mean having a big wife. But who was his big wife? Crystal Candy Girl? It didn't seem like it. He only teased her and made her his small wife. Meng Yao? Yushu? It didn't seem like it. Ling Shan, Sun Jingyi, Xiaoke, Su Shihan, Wang Xinyan, even Yu Ning. These familiar people flashed through Lin Yi's mind, but none of them with a big wife candidate. Could it be that he didn't have a big wife? He gave up on thinking helplessly. Every time he thought about this, Lin Yi would feel very tired. Just when Lin Yi was about to enter the jade space, his phone rang. Faubert. Lin Yi picked up the phone. Faubert rarely called him, and every time he did, something would happen. Lin Yi didn't dare delay and quickly picked up. Are Yao Yao and Shu with you? Why aren't they picking up? Faubert asked worriedly. Yes, we're all in the villa. They should be upstairs showering, Lin Yi said. That's good. I thought something happened when they didn't pick up. Faubert breathed out in relief. Chapter 1876. Haha, it'll be fine. I'll take care of them, don't worry. Lin Yi smiled. So Faubert couldn't contact Meng Yao and Yushu. Man, I'm not used to you guys leaving like this. Faubert sighed. When we were together in the past, it felt like a family. But now Mr. Chu and I, 2 old bachelors, don't know what to do when we get home, and we still want to buy food for you guys after work. Lin Yi sighed softly. Faubert's words made him feel emotional. Faubert's life was quite tragic. Meng Yao and Shu had brought some joy to his lonely life, and he even loved Meng Yao like his own daughter. But now that the 3 of them were gone, the blow to Faubert was probably even bigger than Peng Zhan's. Peng Zhan's wife wasn't by his side, but at least he had something to think about, and his daughter was his. But Faubert was different. In fact, he had nothing. Faubert, have you ever considered getting another wife? Lin Yi suggested after some thought. Faubert paused. He didn't expect Lin Yi to bring this up all of a sudden. He smiled bitterly. When I was young, there was hatred in my heart, and I didn't have the mood to look for one. Now that I'm so old, what's there to look for? Besides, I have too many secrets. Just being a cultivator is not something that ordinary people can understand and accept. If my secrets were to be leaked, the gains would not make up for the losses. Moreover, with my current position, I'm afraid that most of those who want to be with me are after money, right? Besides, I can't accept finding a young one who is about the same age as you. How can I find a suitable one? Lin Yi nodded. Faubert's words made sense. With Faubert's current status, it was easy for him to find a young and beautiful girl. However, most of the girls who fell in love with Faubert were probably there for his money. It was not easy for Faubert to find a girl who was of the right age. Who didn't have a family at this age. Even if he was divorced or widowed, it was not very suitable. Moreover, he must have a trustworthy character. After all, whether it was Lin Yi or Faubert, they both had too many secrets. If they easily revealed some secrets for the sake of money, then it would really be too late for regrets. Mr. Lin, the two ladies have finished bathing, and the hot water has been reheated. You can take a bath now. Grandma Sun's voice came from outside the room. The hot water and water supply systems in this villa were connected. A large water heater boiled the water, so it could only be used in one bathroom at a time. Otherwise, there would be a lack of hot water. If they were to take a bath, the two would take a bath first, and then Lin Yi would take a bath. Okay, I understand. Lin Yi responded, but his eyes lit up. He suddenly thought of a possibility. Lily, you take a bath first. I just want to make sure that you're safe. Faubert said. Wait, Faubert, there's something I want to talk to you about. Lin Yi said. What is it? Faubert paused. It's about finding another one. What do you think of Grandma Sun? Lin Yi said, Grandma Sun. She's a good person. There's no problem with trust. During those difficult times, she's always been good to us, and she also saw me deal with the 3 Earth-class masters. She's a trustworthy person. Grandma Sun? Faubert had never met Grandma Sun before, but he had heard Meng Yao talk about her many times. At least in Faubert's heart, Grandma Sun was a very reliable person. Otherwise, if Lin Yi and the others brought her to Donghai, Faubert wouldn't be at ease. However, Uncle Fu was old. Although he had temporarily put down his hatred, his thoughts in this regard had also faded a lot. He didn't really want to look for it, so he smiled and said, Forget it. It's a bit shameful to still think about these things at such an old age. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. Faubert, love doesn't matter. How about this? The next time you come to Donghai to visit us, you can meet Grandma Sunday. If you think you're suitable, then you can get along. If not, then forget it. Then we'll talk about it next time. Faubert obviously didn't care about Lin Yi's suggestion. All right, I was just saying. I'll talk to Grandma Sun about it later. Lin Yi said. All right, let's meet her then. Faubert said helplessly. But from Faubert's point of view, this wasn't going to happen at all. Lin Yi didn't return for the whole night, but the other 3 didn't suspect anything. After Lin Yi left, Bai Weituo really did call Himeyue's room. After confirming that Xinyan was in the room, the 3 lost interest in Lin Yi's whereabouts. Of course, they didn't think that Lin Yi would be with other beauties. The next morning, Lin Yi drove to school and parted ways with Meng Yao and Yushu in the parking lot. He walked to the male dorm. October 9th was the official registration day for the faculty, and October 10th was the official start of school. Of course, there might be military training, freshman parties, and other activities after school started, but it all depended on the school's arrangements. Lin Yi went back to the dorm. Bai Weituo and the others had just woken up, and Song Xiaodao was carrying a basin to the bathroom to wash up. Zhao Shengji, on the other hand, had just returned as well. Morning. Lin bro. Where did you go last night? Bai Weituo asked casually. Oh, I have a relative who lives nearby, and he asked me to go over. This was the reason Lin Yi came up with. They'd definitely get suspicious if he wasn't in the dorm on weekends, but going to a relative's house on weekends was normal. I see. Bai Weituo nodded. Zhao Shengji and Song Xiaodao had a look of understanding on their faces as well. Where are we going? When? Lin Yi asked. The faculty sent a notice last night. It's at room 1109 of the biology faculty's main building. Bai Weituo pointed at the notice on the table. Our medicine faculty can fit in one classroom. My brother said that there's less than 20 people this year. That's so little. Lin Yi frowned. This wasn't even as many as a class from another faculty. Can't help it. It's a niche major. Bai Weituo smiled bitterly. But it's good. It's quiet, and there's nothing to worry about. Song Xiaodao came back as the two were talking. The four left the dorm and walked to the biology faculty. The biology faculty's entrance was crowded, and there was no lack of beauties among them. After all, every faculty had their own beauties. Chapter 1877. Wow, there are quite a few beauties. Song Xiaodao said excitedly, I wonder if there are any from our department? All right, stop looking. Bai Weituo patted Song Xiaodao, who was looking left and right, and said, Don't think about it, there's only one girl in our entire department. Pfft. No way. Song Xiaodao retracted his gaze, depressed. It can't be the one with Boss Lin, right? That's right. Bai Weituo shrugged. Can't help it. Big Brother told me yesterday that there's only one girl in our department. Oh my god, it can't be? Zhao Shengji said, also depressed. But I heard that there are students who want to transfer over, but I'm afraid it's not a girl, Bai Weituo said. Forget it, I'll look further and go to other departments, Song Xiaodao said helplessly. When they arrived at room 1109, the people in the room were clear at a glance. There were only a few dozen people, and the first two rows weren't full. Wang Xinyan, on the other hand, sat alone in the third row, flipping through the book in her hand. She didn't say a word, just like the first time Lin Yi saw her, quiet and calm. The boys in the first two rows would turn around to peek at Wang Xinyan from time to time, but none of them had the nerve to talk to her. Boss Lin, let's go over? Song Xiaodao smiled and pointed at Wang Xinyan's seat. Lin Yi didn't want to go over, but seeing the three guys in the room, all of them had a natural look in their eyes. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He was afraid that if he didn't go over, it would seem abnormal to them. Instead of deliberately hiding it, it was better to be open. Anyway, if Bai Weituo and the others weren't here, Lin Yi might choose to sit next to Wang Xinyan. After all, Wang Xinyan was the only person he was familiar with here. Lin Yi and the others walked over and sat in the third row. Lin Yi sat next to Wang Xinyan. The others, on the other hand, sat in the row beside Lin Yi. This was a small classroom with 3 rows of desks. 3 desks together made a total of 9 desks. Wang Xinyan sat by the window, but she sat in the middle, not the innermost seat. There was only 1 seat left, and Lin Yi sat down. The others could only sit at the side. Xinyan paused, frowning as she looked up. It was Lin Yi. She blushed. You. Well, you seem to be the only girl here? Lin Yi asked. Yeah. Xinyan smiled bitterly. That's why my roommates are all from other majors. He Meiyue and Chai Xiaoling are studying botany, while Xiaoru's studying biochemistry. The 3 of them aren't from the same specialization? Lin Yi was a little surprised. I like this dormitory. It's actually just a patchwork of dormitories. The number of students from each major doesn't necessarily make up the number of dormitories. In the end, there will be a few extra students, and these extra students will be put into the same dormitory. I'm the only girl in our major, so I'm with them, Xinyan explained. I see. Lin Yi nodded, and as the two were talking, the classroom that was buzzing with whispers suddenly quieted down. It was the first time everyone in the classroom met. Although they were familiar with each other's dormitory, it was the first time they met the others, and they were introducing themselves. The sudden silence meant that something must have happened. Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan raised their heads as well. They saw a blonde and a purple-haired guy clearing the way in front of them, and a big bald guy swaggered into the classroom. He was as arrogant as he could be. He looked like a playboy from ancient times who brought 2 servants to cause trouble on the streets. A strange look passed through Lin Yi's eyes when he saw this person. Was he also a medical student? Xinyan, on the other hand, was startled. She wasn't unfamiliar with this person. It was because of this person that Lin Yi had a conflict with during the college entrance exams for her. This person was Tiger Wright. Tiger Wright's image was terrible to begin with, and with the blonde and purple-haired guys around him, the students in the classroom naturally felt a sense of fear. They didn't understand why these three gangsters would suddenly appear in the classroom. Tiger Wright was very satisfied with the sudden silence in the classroom. He walked up to the podium and said, "Let me introduce myself, I'm Tiger Wright. When the teacher comes to choose the class monitor, vote for me, and you'll benefit. If not, heh." The students didn't want to be threatened by these gangsters right at the start of school, but these three clearly weren't good people, so they obediently shut their mouths. No one dared to talk back. "Blonde, send out the red packets," Tiger Wright said to the blonde. "Yes." The blonde nodded and walked down with a box of red packets. He placed it in front of the first student in the first row. The student understood Tiger Wright's intention, but he didn't dare take the red packet recklessly. He stood there, not knowing what to do. "Fuck, just take the red packet if it's given to you. I'm giving you face, but you don't want it?" The blonde glared, and the student quickly took out a red packet from the box. After that, the blondie walked in front of the other students one by one. At present, these students had just gotten to know each other and had not joined forces yet. Naturally, no one dared to resist the blondie alone. Seeing that someone had taken the red packet, they naturally followed suit and took the red packet one by one. When the blonde walked in front of Lin Yi, he clearly froze. He didn't think that Lin Yi would be in the classroom at all, and Lin Yi was sitting in the third row. He didn't stand out at all. Now that he saw Lin Yi, he froze. Lin Yi looked at the blonde with a faint smile, but he was very suspicious. Why did Tiger Wright spend so much effort to choose a class monitor? Logically speaking, the children of the hidden aristocratic families came to school here with the attitude of playing around, but he actually cared about the position of a class monitor. This really made Lin Yi feel a little strange. It should be known that being a class monitor in a university wasn't a very good job. It was like being the dorm leader. It was a job that was responsible for communicating with the tutors, lecturers, the student council, and the students in the class. To put it bluntly, it was a hard labor with no salary. Of course, the reputation was very good, and it was also a kind of training for one's organizational skills. It was also quite beneficial for one's job. However, what use did Tiger Wright have for such a position? The school bell's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full text. Chapter 1878. He wants to be the class monitor? Lin Yi looked at the blonde and asked. At this time, Right Coiling Tiger also saw Lin Yi, and he secretly complained in his heart. Motherfucker, what is called enemies on a narrow road? This is really strange. Yesterday, I met Lin Yi, but today, I actually saw Lin Yi, and he is in the same class as me. How am I going to live in the future? Right now, the Wright family's attitude toward Lin Yi was very cautious. Since the Zhao family's Earth Stage Late Stage Master couldn't do anything to Lin Yi, what other tricks did the Wright family have? They couldn't possibly send a Heaven Stage Master, right? Even if the Wright family wanted to, the ancient families wouldn't agree. Although the Heavenly Elixir sect was strong, it wasn't something that could be decided by themselves. Yes, Lin Yi, as long as you vote for me, I will reward you in the future. Since Right Coiling Tiger couldn't do anything to Lin Yi, he could only choose to temporarily endure. We don't get to know each other without fighting. How about we be friends? Okay, then I will vote for you. As Lin Yi said this, he snatched the cardboard box from the blonde's hand. There were no less than 20 red envelopes in it. Obviously, Right Coiling Tiger prepared more. This. The blonde saw Lin Yi swallow the red envelopes, and he was suddenly stunned. This row is all my friends. I will ask them to vote for him later. Lin Yi pointed to Bai Weitua and the others. That is good. The blonde didn't dare to argue with Lin Yi, so he let go of his hand resentfully. Lin Yi put the cardboard box on Bai Weitua's table and said, "Take it back. This is a token of their appreciation. If we don't take it, they will lose face." Right Coiling Tiger was relieved when he got Lin Yi's guarantee. To be honest, he wasn't interested in being the class monitor, but his family valued it very much, and he also knew the significance of this medical major. To be able to set up such a strange major in the science and engineering college, and to be able to do it with only a few people, the power behind this person could not be underestimated. And this person. He was also a person respected by the Yu family. If Yu Panhu could successfully graduate here, He would receive guidance from that person and inherit the position of the Yu family's family head. Ahem. I say, are you trying to replace me by standing on the podium? Do you want to be a lecturer for our medicine department? An old man walked into the classroom and saw Tiger Right on the podium. He smiled and made a humorous joke. Although Right Coiling Tiger was domineering, when he saw this person, he acted like a mouse that had seen a cat. He nodded and bowed. Old Bai. When the old man heard how Yu Coiling Tiger addressed him, he frowned slightly and said, "This is a school. Call me Professor Bai, or add the word, teacher, and call me Teacher Bai." The people who came in. This was Bai Weituo's grandfather. Lin Yi had long known this identity. It wasn't too surprising. When he had saved the old man had said that he would teach him medical knowledge. However, Lin Yi didn't think much of it at that time. He didn't expect that the old man was actually a professor here. However, this news had been known for 2 days, so Lin Yi wasn't surprised. However, Tiger Right's respectful look and address made Lin Yi a little curious. Tiger Right and Bai Weituo's grandfather? What was their relationship? Could it be that they had a close relationship? With this thought, Lin Yi's face was a little gloomy. He and Bai Weituo were undoubtedly very good friends. If the Yu family and Bai Weituo's family had a relationship, then it would be very difficult for Lin Yi to be in the middle. However, when he saw Bai Weituo's eyes, Lin Yi realized that he didn't seem to know Tiger Right at all. He was relieved. It seemed that although Tiger Right knew Bai Weituo's grandfather, he probably wasn't very familiar with him. "Yes, Professor Bai, then I will go down." With that said, Tiger Right brought the purple hair and the yellow hair to the back of the classroom and sat in the 3rd row near the door. His good attitude was beyond Lin Yi's expectations. This Tiger Right actually respected his teacher so much? Hello, students. I am your professional tutor and the only tutor. In layman's terms, I am the boss in our professional field. What I say counts. Bai Weituo's grandfather walked to the center of the podium and introduced himself humorously. My name is Boss Bai. I have already said it just now. I am the boss here. Ha! The students in the audience were suddenly stunned. They didn't expect a teacher to call himself the boss, and he did it so openly. Don't doubt it. This old man's name is Boss Bai. Bai Weituo's grandfather laughed and said, "Every batch of students will be very surprised when they hear this name, but this is the truth. Among you, Bai Weituo is my grandson. He can prove that my name is real." Ha ha! The students in the audience finally couldn't help but laugh. It could be seen that Boss Bai was a very kind old man. At least, he wasn't as rigid as some teachers. However, in reality, they didn't know that although Boss Bai looked cheerful, he was actually a very strict person. Bai Weituo knew this very well. Alright, there is only one class in our professional field, and there are only a dozen or so of you in the class. As for the class monitor, there is no need to hold any election. I will just randomly appoint someone. Boss Bai's gaze swept across the students in the room and finally landed on Lin Yi. He said, "Lin Yi, it will be you." Ha! Lin Yi was stunned and looked at Boss Bai in shock. How did he become the class monitor? To be honest, if it was an election for the class monitor, Lin Yi wouldn't mind voting for Tiger Right because he had no intention of fighting for the position of class monitor. But now, Boss Bai unexpectedly didn't let everyone in the class vote. Instead, he randomly appointed himself, which surprised Lin Yi. "Lin Yi, stand up and let everyone know you." Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi with a smile. There was an indescribable playfulness in his eyes. There was excitement, joy, and a hint of schadenfreude. Lin Yi stood up helplessly. Tiger Right frowned. He didn't expect that Boss Bai would directly appoint someone instead of letting someone run for the position of class monitor. Although there was no fixed way to elect a class monitor in a university, competitive speeches and voting had become a fixed model in most schools. According to Tiger Right's knowledge, the other departments and majors in Donghai Industry University all elected their class monitors this way. This was also what he learned from Li Biaohan and Zhuang Niadao. That was why he used the method of giving red packets to attract students. But he didn't expect that it would be completely useless. Although he was annoyed, Tiger Right knew that it wasn't Lin Yi's fault. Looking at Lin Yi's strange expression, it didn't seem like he was faking it. The school bell's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full article. Chapter 1879. In Right Coiling Tiger's view, there was no need for Lin Yi, a cultivator who had killed 3 Earth stage experts in one move, to lie. He didn't know, so he didn't know. The only explanation was that Boss Bai randomly assigned a person, and somehow, he liked Lin Yi. Right Coiling Tiger was a little dissatisfied. He didn't want to lose this opportunity to make the old man of the Yu family look up to him. So he secretly gave the blonde a look. Mr. Bai, I think we should run for class monitor, right? We are not familiar with each other, and we don't know each other if we randomly assign a class monitor. Why don't we compete to make a speech and then vote? The blonde suggested. This student, did you not hear what I said just now? I am the boss of the medical major. If you want to study here, you have to listen to me, or else I can help you transfer to another major. You can go anywhere. Boss Bai's face darkened, and his smiling face changed as he said coldly. This shocked the students present. This seemingly smiling old man turned out to be a smiling tiger. He turned hostile just like that. Everyone secretly wiped their sweat. Fortunately, they didn't do anything out of line before. Otherwise, they would be the ones being scolded now. The blonde shrank his head. Obviously, he didn't dare to argue with Boss Bai, and Right Coiling Tiger was a little frustrated. It seemed that his dream was shattered. Lin Yi was stunned. He originally wanted to decline, but after hearing what Boss Bai said, he had to give up the idea. Although Lin Yi saved his life, he was Lin Yi's mentor at the moment. No matter what, Lin Yi couldn't go against him. Since everyone has no objections, then I will talk about the arrangements for the freshmen after school starts. Boss Bai was very satisfied with everyone's reaction. He nodded slowly and said, Our department is small, and we don't have so many rules. The only rule is that what I say is the rule, and what I don't say, you can do as I said. If you do it again, then I'm sorry, just wait to fail at the end of the term. Boss Bai was the only one who could threaten a student in such a way in public. After school starts, there will be military training and a party for freshmen. The military training will be held from October 11th to October 20th, a total of 10 days. The results of the military training will be counted into your credits, and you will get a total of 6 credits. Boss Bai said, the military training is arranged by the school. I won't talk about the rules and regulations. Someone will tell you when the time comes. After the military training, it was time for the freshmen's evening party. According to the usual practice, every department and every major had to come up with a program. However, we are the smallest major in the biology department, and also the smallest major in the entire school, so we can only come up with one program. However, although our department is small, I don't want you to embarrass me. After the military training, if the program is good and the results are good, then everyone will get 5 credits. If it's not good, hee. Lin Yi was speechless. This was the first time he had heard of such a teaching method. Wasn't this mentor a little too overbearing? They would threaten students with failing courses and losing credits at the drop of a hat. However, these 2 things were especially important to university students. If one failed a course, they would have to take a makeup exam. If they failed the makeup exam, they would have to retake the course. If they did not have enough credits, they would not be able to graduate. This made everyone very depressed. However, Boss Bai said that he was in charge here. As for Boss Bai's style, Lin Yi was already used to it. Since such a small major existed, and Boss Bai's teaching method was so unique, it must have been tacitly approved by the school. Therefore, even if it was reported to the principal, there might not be any results. Okay, that's all I have to say. Everyone, go back and play. Tomorrow, the other majors have to come to the college students' rules and regulations class, but we don't have to attend it. The rules and regulations are not to be memorized, but to be followed by how you do it. 1 copy for each person, and it will be included in the teaching materials. Go back and read it carefully. Don't let me catch you in the act, or don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi and said to him, Class monitor Lin Yi, come to the office with me. Everyone else is dismissed. On the faces of everyone in the class, there was no one without a bitter smile. They applied for this major more or less because their families were in the pharmaceutical industry, and some elders in their families had heard of Boss Bai's reputation, so they applied for this major. Originally, they thought that the smaller the major, the easier it would be to survive, but unexpectedly, it was not the case at all. But now that they were here, they could only abide by it. If Boss Bai really transferred them to another major, no one could afford to lose face. Lin Yi shrugged and glanced at Wang Xinyan, wondering how he could transfer the position of the class monitor to her. On one hand, she seemed to be excellent, and on the other hand, she was the only girl in the class, so everyone should give her some face. Of course, if Wang Xinyan couldn't convince everyone, then Lin Yi would recommend Bai Weitua. After all, he was Boss Bai's grandson, and he was the most suitable candidate. Thinking of this, Lin Yi stood up and followed Boss Bai out of the classroom. Although Right Coiling Tiger wanted to compete for the position of the class monitor, he had to give up when he thought of Lin Yi's achievements. After leaving the classroom, Boss Bai changed his expression and said to Lin Yi with a smile, "Haha, young man, I said I would teach you medicine and take you as my disciple, but you didn't agree. How about now? You're my disciple again, right?" "Damn, I didn't know you were a tutor here." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. "Now I've fulfilled your wish." "That's true, but my original idea was to take you as my disciple and teach you some special medical skills, the kind that can't be learned in school." Boss Bai said. "What's that?" Lin Yi's heart moved slightly. To be honest, when he heard Boss Bai say these words at the entrance of the examination room, Lin Yi didn't really care. Teach him medicine? Boss Bai couldn't even cure his own illness. How could he teach him? But after seeing Right Coiling Tiger's attitude toward Boss Bai, he had a slightly different idea. Who was Right Coiling Tiger? He was the second young master of the Hidden Right family. The Hidden Right family was good at medicine and alchemy. In terms of medical attainments, he was probably not below Lin Yi and Old Lin. However, Right Coiling Tiger was so respectful to Boss Bai, which explained some problems. There's only one disciple. Otherwise, he wouldn't be called a disciple. I've already taken in a good seedling. Boss Bai glanced at Lin Yi and said with a smile, "How about it? Do you regret it now?" "It's all right," Lin Yi said lightly. How could he not know that the old man was talking nonsense? Only one disciple? There were only two Bai Weitua and Bai Weikai. Obviously, this old man was keeping him in suspense. The school bell's personal expert. Welcome readers to login. Read the full text. Chapter 1880. But I will slowly examine your aptitude, and then teach you some special things, but I don't know much about your aptitude yet, so I can only observe slowly. Boss Bai said. While talking, Boss Bai took Lin Yi out of the teaching building and came to the faculty building of the biology department. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Boss Bai's workplace was actually the basement of the faculty building. And it was the whole floor. It was a bit bullying to arrange an old man to work in the basement, but giving the whole basement to Boss Bai was not bullying, but taking care of him. "This floor is all yours?" Lin Yi was a little surprised and pointed at the sign on the side of the corridor that said, "Medical Office Area." "Yes, how is it?" "Not bad." Boss Bai chuckled. "That's my lab, and there's also a research room and a medicine refining room." Medicine refining? Lin Yi's eyes slightly narrowed. Although Boss Bai was talking about concocting medicine, not concocting pills, the word concocting made Lin Yi's heart skip a beat. "Oh, it's the place where medicine is brewed and prepared. Medicine refining is just a way of saying it." Boss Bai thought that Lin Yi didn't understand the meaning of medicine refining, so he explained. "I see." Lin Yi nodded. Boss Bai took Lin Yi into the innermost office, opened the door, and Boss Bai and Lin Yi walked in together. The office was very clean, with only a shelf, a writing desk, and a sofa. What surprised Lin Yi was that the shelf was full of thread-bound books, which seemed to be ancient manuscripts, which was somewhat similar to Old Lin's shelf. "These are all copied by me. Most of the ones that haven't been published are other people's medical experiences, and a small part is my own summary." Boss Bai saw Lin Yi's surprised look and explained with a smile. Lin Yi nodded deeply. It seemed that Boss Bai was indeed not an ordinary person, but last time, the meridians in his body seemed to be either destroyed or blocked. Did he not cure his own disease? But when he thought about it, he came to a realization. Before he started practicing the art of dragon mastery, fighting Huaijuan would reduce his pain and extend his lifespan, but it wouldn't be able to repair his meridians and turn him back into a spiritual practitioner. Ordinary doctors couldn't do anything about it. Then what could Boss Bai do? No matter how powerful he was, it was impossible for him to repair his meridians. "Very good. There are many similar books in my old man's bookshelf, Lin Yi said frankly. You're also from a medical family? No wonder. Boss Bai was relieved to hear Lin Yi's words. No wonder Lin Yi didn't agree to be his disciple so easily. It turned out that he was also a member of a medical family. However, Boss Bai had never heard of any medical family surnamed Lin. Not exactly an aristocratic family. The old man was alone, and I was picked up by him. Oh right, Elder Bai, what do you think I'm doing? Can I discuss something with you? Boss Bai didn't seem to object to Lin Yi calling him Mr. Bai. Instead he said, What is it? How about letting Bai Weitua or Wang Xinyan be the class monitor? Lin Yi asked. Why should we let them? Don't you know it's a good job? Boss Bai said, At least in terms of credits, I will give you extra points, because the student council of our major will fall on you. Bai Weitua is a graduate student and doesn't have much time left. Student council of our major will have extra credits, and a lot of them. These credits are enough for you to study a second major. That's great. Brother Xiao Kai retired, and his brother Bai Weitua will take over. Lin Yi said, To be honest, I don't have much time, and I may ask for leave often. So, I really can't be the class monitor. Ask for leave? Don't you know the rules of our major? Boss Bai narrowed his eyes and asked. Yes, I know. It said that I only need to separate and identify a bunch of medicinal materials that you make? Lin Yi said. So, you can do it? Boss Bai stared at Lin Yi with a strange light in his eyes. Lin Yi smiled. If that's all, then I think it should be possible. Okay. Boss Bai nodded and said, 2 choices, one difficult and one easy. If you pass the easy one, then you don't have to take the final exam. I will pass all of them for you, and you can also ask for leave. What about the difficult one? Lin Yi didn't hear the condition of not being the class monitor, so he continued to ask. The difficult one. If you pass it, you can appoint someone else as the class monitor. You can leave at normal times without asking for leave. Just tell me when you have time. Besides, if you pass it 4 times in a row in 4 years, I can let you graduate directly. Boss Bai stated his conditions. Okay, I choose the difficult one. Lin Yi nodded and said, Yes, the difficult one is very difficult. After so many years, no one has passed it. Think about it carefully. Boss Bai said. Yes, I have. Lin Yi nodded. Okay, I will give you a random question. After you read the question, you can change to an easier one if you don't want to answer it. But if you answer it wrong, then you won't have a chance anymore. Boss Bai said as he opened the drawer and rummaged randomly. No need, Boss Bai, you choose the question. Lin Yi said. Hee, this is it. Boss Bai took out a small box from the drawer and put it in front of Lin Yi. He smiled cunningly. This is it. Tell me what's inside. Ha! Lin Yi's eyes widened. He looked at the small box on the table in disbelief. Because it was a box of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. Haha, what's wrong? Scared? Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi proudly. He was very satisfied that he tricked him. Not to mention the injury medicine, which was made up of more than 10 kinds of herbs. Even if a few of them were mixed into a medicine, it would still be very difficult to distinguish the herbs. Not to mention Lin Yi's age, even the heads of those medical families didn't have this ability. No. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Hee, still being stubborn? But I will allow you to make one mistake. How about it? Is that fair? Boss Bai smiled and said. Fair, it's extremely fair. Lin Yi was speaking from the bottom of his heart. This question was too easy for him. If that's the case, we can start. Boss Bai saw that Lin Yi didn't regret his decision, so he said angrily. This injury medicine has strictness, dragon bone, southern red flower 5 coins, chuanqiang live, crab bone, Angelica sinensis, radix parsnip, Angelica dehirica. Lin Yi slowly said the formula of the injury medicine. Chapter 1881. Although he didn't think that Boss Bai was the kind of person who would steal the formula, Lin Yi was still not familiar with him, so he didn't tell him about the other medicine. Boss Bai also said that he was allowed to make one mistake. Hearing Lin Yi's words, Boss Bai's eyes turned serious from the initial teasing. He came up with this question casually to make things difficult for Lin Yi and make him stay in school. Although Lin Yi had some medical skills, there were still many things that he didn't know. However, Lin Yi actually told him the formula of the injury medicine so casually, which made Boss Bai's eyes widen in shock. Lin Yi guessed correctly. He wasn't trying to get the formula, because he didn't even know that the injury medicine was made by Lin Yi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come up with this kind of question. He had also tried to figure out the formula of the injury medicine before. Of course, with his ability, figuring out the formula of the injury medicine wasn't a difficult thing. However, he was just curious because there was someone who could sell injury medicine at such a low price. He also had a copy of the ancient formula of the Golden Creation medicine, and the Golden Creation medicine produced by Dr. Kang's medical company was from this formula. However, the ingredients of this formula were extremely expensive, so Boss Bai was very confused. Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was so cheap, so he either changed the formula, or he was making a loss. So, he studied it for a while, and then he was amazed by the person who could make this formula, who was so powerful that they actually had such a solid knowledge of medicine, and could make these ordinary ingredients that couldn't be any more effective. However, even Boss Bai only came up with a complete formula after studying for many days. It was absolutely impossible for him to say it so quickly like Lin Yi. So, Boss Bai's face changed a little, and the way he looked at Lin Yi was a little different. "Old Bai, am I right?" Lin Yi asked with a smile. "That's right." Boss Bai shook his head absent-mindedly. Then he sighed. "Although there's a missing ingredient, the rest are accurate." "Wait, that's not right. You haven't even opened the box. How do you know?" Boss Bai was so shocked that he forgot one important thing. That was, Lin Yi had only been talking about the prescription without opening the box of the injury medicine. So how did he judge it? Boss Bai didn't know what Lin Yi was thinking. Could it be that he already had this prescription? Lin Yi's eyes also flashed with a trace of surprise. Boss Bai actually knew that he had missed a medicinal material? Didn't that mean that he already knew the formula for the injury medicine? Although Lin Yi had the ability, Lin Yi was confident that even Old Man Lin was no match for him. For Old Lin to be able to distinguish so carefully, he had to go through several days of speculation and analysis of the effects of various medicinal ingredients to be able to do this. However, Lin Yi had grown up in a pile of medicinal ingredients and had talent in this area, so he was able to quickly analyze the prescription. For example, the products of Dr. Kong Medical Company. But Boss Bai could do it too? Yes. Only Chuanxiong is missing. But how do you know? Lin Yi asked with some uncertainty. You know? How do you know? Boss Bai's eyes widened. You already had this prescription before? Of course. Lin Yi nodded, but he admired Boss Bai in his heart. Lin Yi rarely admired anyone. Even Guan Shuamin. Guan Shuamin was just a friend, so there was nothing that Lin Yi admired about him. But for Boss Bai, Lin Yi really admired him. Why do you have this prescription? Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi strangely. Would you believe me if I told you that I was the one who came up with this recipe? Lin Yi asked, thinking of something. Since he had already exposed so much, he might as well expose more. By then, Boss Bai would probably not interfere if he wanted to skip classes. You. Boss Bai opened his mouth and looked at Lin Yi strangely. After a while, he nodded and said, I believe you. Why? Lin Yi was confused. Why did Boss Bai believe him? This kind of medicine is made of more than 10 kinds of medicinal materials. Even if we analyze it with instruments, we can't get any results. It's all based on our own sense of smell. Since you can tell me, why should I doubt you? This prescription is confidential. Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi, not knowing what he was thinking. Well, I'm just being opportunistic. Mr. Bai, can you give me another question? Said Lin Yi. Did you discover the special edition Golden Creation and the weight loss medicine of Dr. Kong Medical Company? Boss Bai, however, didn't answer Lin Yi's question. Instead, he asked another irrelevant question. This time, it was Lin Yi's turn to be surprised. Wasn't Boss Bai's thinking a little too strong? Why do you ask? Lin Yi squinted his eyes and looked at Boss Bai. Since this prescription was made by you, then you must have a special relationship with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. The problem with Miracle Dr. Kang's product was also discovered by Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. So, I'm afraid that it was made by one person. Only the person who made this prescription has this kind of ability. Boss Bai said. That's right. Heh. Mr. Bai, your analysis is correct. That was also discovered by me, Lin Yi nodded quickly. It was not unreasonable for Boss Bai to guess it from this. Well, you have surprised me. It's far beyond my expectation. Boss Bai nodded slowly. So, I accept your suggestion. No more questions? Didn't you say that as long as I answer 4 questions correctly, I can graduate directly? Then, now that I have answered 4 questions, there won't be any trouble in the future, right? Lin Yi asked. No need to answer. If I'm not wrong, the other products of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Company are also made by you? Boss Bai laughed and said, if that's the case, my questions are easy for you. I'm a bit regretful now. I should have asked for more difficult questions. More difficult questions? Lin Yi frowned slightly. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Boss Bai waved his hand. But, although you are very good, remember, you can learn unexpected knowledge from me. What knowledge? Lin Yi asked curiously. It was not the first time he heard Boss Bai say this. I can't say for now. You will know in the future, Boss Bai said. Okay, I suggest Bai Weitua be the class monitor, and Wang Xinyan be the vice monitor, Lin Yi said. The Campus Bell's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full text. Chapter 1882. Okay, I'll listen to you. Boss Bai nodded without hesitation. Then if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Lin Yi said. Goodbye, Boss Bai said. Lin Yi shrugged. This Boss Bai was really weird. Especially his relationship with him. He was his savior, but Boss Bai didn't mention anything about the past. What surprised Lin Yi even more was that Boss Bai's medical research was really good. It was no wonder that Right Coiling Tiger was so respectful towards him. There was actually such a character hidden in this little-known minor profession. After leaving Boss Bai's office, Lin Yi didn't go back to the classroom. Instead, he went back to the dorm. Lin bro, what did my grandpa say to you? Bai Weitua saw Lin Yi coming back and immediately went up to him. Nothing much. I recommended you to be the class leader. Let Wang Xinyan be the vice class leader. I don't have time. Lin Yi said directly. Ah, no way. Then my grandpa agreed? Bai Weitua asked curiously. He agreed. Lin Yi nodded. He really agreed? Bai Weitua froze. Although Lin Yi saved his grandpa's life, his grandpa had been nagging at home these days that he must teach Lin Yi well and make him his proud disciple. So Bai Weitua wasn't surprised that his grandpa made Lin Yi the class leader. However, it would be strange if his grandpa agreed after Lin Yi resigned. Really? Lin Yi nodded. That's unbelievable. Bai Weitua was a little surprised. Haha, it's okay. Lin Yi didn't say much. There were many people in the dorm. Although they were familiar with each other, Lin Yi didn't plan to tell them the truth. Right, Lin bro. Are you free in the afternoon? Bai Weitua asked. Afternoon? I'll ask. Lin Yi remembered that the miss said she would monitor him for Xiao, so he texted her first. Otherwise, she wouldn't be satisfied. Meng Yao and Yu Shu were from the economics department. Things were not as simple as Lin Yi's pharmacy department. The economics department had a class committee competition to give a speech, the department student council competition to give a speech, the school student council competition to give a speech, and so on. Therefore, there was no break in the afternoon at all. In fact, there was no tomorrow. Therefore, Lin Yi asked. The eldest miss replied straightforwardly. She had something to do in the department in the afternoon. Let Lin Yi arrange his own time. Nothing, Lin Yi said. This relative of yours is really a busybody. Even when you go out in the afternoon, he has to ask for permission. Isn't his girlfriend just so? Bai Weitua said in surprise. Heh. Lin Yi thought to himself. He was helping his girlfriend. So it should be more or less the same, right? Well, since there's nothing else, I've asked Mayua's dorm out. Let's go out and play in the afternoon? Zhao Shengji and Song Xiaodao were both from out of town and wanted to take a stroll. I remember that you are not from Donghai City. Well, you have relatives. Bai Weitua chattered on. I don't come here often. Lin Yi said, but Meiyue and the others also have a break in the afternoon. They don't participate in the class committee election, so there's nothing much to do. The afternoon is the time for each major to run for the class committee. Bai Weitua explained. I see. Lin Yi nodded and said, then let's go out and walk around. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, in front of the #1 teaching building of the biology department, Lin Yi, Bai Weitua, Song Xiaodao, and Zhao Shengji met He Meiyue, Wang Xinyan, and Chai Xiaoling. As for Lan Xiaoru, it was said that she went on a date with her boyfriend, so she didn't have time. However, there were 2 more boys beside He Meiyue. One of them was talking to He Meiyue happily when Lin Yi and the others arrived. Wang Xinyan. Lin Yi greeted Wang Xinyan and walked over quickly. I say, Fan Gonha, now you see, Xinyan is already taken. You don't have much hope. He Meiyue smiled and said to the other boy beside her. The boy named Fan Gonha looked at Lin Yi with a trace of hostility. When he and another boy went to the dormitory to look for He Meiyue yesterday, he saw Wang Xinyan with He Meiyue. At that time, he fell in love with Wang Xinyan, but when he heard that Wang Xinyan was taken, he was naturally unhappy. Fan Gonha. Fan Gonha suddenly walked in front of Lin Yi and reached out to Lin Yi. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He didn't understand whether this guy wanted to show off or what. Although he was far away, Lin Yi still heard what He Meiyue and Fan Gonha said clearly. Lin Yi. Since the other person was He Meiyue's friend, Lin Yi didn't need to offend him. He reached out and shook hands with him, saying lightly, I will compete. Fan Gonha didn't provoke Lin Yi with his hand, only promising. I'm not Xinyan's boyfriend. I'm just familiar with her. We come from the same place. Lin Yi saw through Fan Gonha's thoughts and smiled. Fan Gonha was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Yi to say this, but he thought that Lin Yi was afraid after seeing his physique. After all, Fan Gonha was from the sports department, and he was obviously a size bigger than Lin Yi. Lin Yi looked harmless, so he shouldn't be Fan Gonha's opponent. Thinking of this, a trace of contempt flashed in Fan Gonha's eyes. Even He Meiyue frowned. Before, He Meiyue had a good impression of Lin Yi, but now she was looking down on Lin Yi. I say, Lin Yi, you're not going to back down, are you? He Meiyue felt sorry for Xinyan. No, he's right, we're just friends after all. Xinyan found it funny. Was Lin Yi afraid of Fan Gonha? That's because you didn't see how strong Lin Yi was. Even someone as strong as Yellow Hair got thrown out of the classroom window by Lin Yi. Xinyan wasn't from a noble house, but she'd heard about them. Uncle Pai from the Xiao family had died in Lin Yi's hands, and Pai Yongyang and Mr. Pai had been killed by Lin Yi's lackeys. She probably wouldn't think that way. But Xinyan didn't explain, because some things couldn't be said casually. That's even better. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Fan Gonha blinked before nodding. He Meiyue, on the other hand, looked at Xinyan strangely. She had a preconceived notion that there was something going on between Lin Yi and Xinyan, but since both parties had denied it, He Meiyue wouldn't press the issue. Meiyue, you've been waiting for a long time, right? The men's room is a bit far. Bai Weitua smiled, breaking the awkwardness as he greeted He Meiyue. Meiyue, this is? The guy beside He Meiyue asked suddenly. Chapter 1883. Did the car break down? Zhang Duopan. This is Bai Weitua from our dorm. Bai Weitua, this is my high school classmate, Zhang Duopan. He Meiyue introduced them. Hello. Zhang Duopan extended his hand, but his posture was a bit arrogant. He looked at Bai Weitua and said, My name is Zhang Duopan, Meiyue's high school classmate and flower guardian. Bai Weitua was stunned. Flower guardian? But then he remembered He Meiyue said yesterday that she didn't have a boyfriend, so this Zhang Duopan was most likely a pursuer who hadn't succeeded yet. Bai Weitua didn't want to be outdone. Flower guardian? I think it's probably self-proclaimed, right? Zhang Duopan's face suddenly darkened. Bai Weitua had hit his soft spot. When they were in high school, he had pursued He Meiyue, but she always rejected him with the reason that her studies were more important. Now that they were in university and they happened to be in the same school, he brought up the past again, but He Meiyue didn't respond to him directly, which made Zhang Duopan very unhappy. Are you here to pick a fight? Zhang Duopan asked coldly. I'm just speaking the truth, and I want to be your flower guardian too. Bai Weitua didn't want to reveal his intentions so early. After all, picking up a girl needed to be done step by step. If he said it all at once and got rejected, there would be no room for negotiation. But slowly with feelings it would be much easier. But now, if Bai Weitua didn't say it, someone else would beat him to it. He could only express his position. He Meiyue pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She didn't like Zhang Duopan, but she didn't hate him either. They were like friends, so naturally, he Meiyue couldn't directly agree to his pursuit. As for Bai Weitua, he Meiyue had a good impression of him, but she was a little surprised that he wanted to pursue her on the second day they met. That's good. Having a competitor can make my fighting spirit high. Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganhe were both from rich families. Fighting was common in high school, but after they entered university, they became more restrained. After all, they weren't familiar with the place and people, so they didn't dare to be too arrogant. At least, it wasn't good to be arrogant before they figured out the other's strength. Where are we going in the afternoon? Zhao Shengji tried to smooth things over. He could tell that Zhang Duopan and Bai Weitua were going to fight. Although the four of them weren't necessarily afraid of the two of them, it wasn't good for freshmen to fight. We discussed it just now and decided to go to a nearby KTV. Our department will be performing 2 programs at the freshmen's party. One of them is a solo, and Meiyue signed up for it, Chai Shaoling explained. Oh, Meiyue, you can even sing? Bai Weitua was surprised. You don't know, do you? In our high school, Meiyue was known as the Skylark. Zhang Duopan said proudly, at that time, our class's solo performance always won first place in the school. Hee, it's just a hobby. If it weren't for my family's disapproval, I would have applied for a music academy. He Meiyue shrugged and said, my parents are more conservative. They don't like me to mix in the entertainment circle. That's true. If Meiyue applied for a music academy, she would be a superstar in the future. That Su Shihan wouldn't be her opponent. Zhang Duopan said casually. He originally wanted to praise He Meiyue, but he regretted it after saying it. Because He Meiyue's idol was Su Shihan. Wasn't saying that Su Shihan wasn't good? As expected, He Meiyue's face changed slightly. She said indifferently, I'm far from Su Shihan. I'm just an amateur. I was just saying it casually. Zhang Duopan said awkwardly. Su Shihan is indeed amazing. Not only is she beautiful, but her songs are also very nice. I like her too. Bai Weitua wasn't stupid. He immediately saw through He Meiyue's thoughts. But in fact, he did like listening to Su Shihan's songs. Most young people liked Su Shihan. You like Su Shihan too? He Meiyue's eyes lit up. Yeah, I can sing some songs too. Bai Weitua nodded. Okay, then let's sing together later. He Meiyue said happily. This made Zhang Duopan's face turn ugly. He suggested to go to KTV naturally to practice with He Meiyue. He didn't have any talent in singing. Saying he was tone-deaf was already flattering him. Even if he went to rap, he wouldn't be able to remember the lyrics. He didn't expect Bai Weitua to talk about his disadvantage. Zhang Duopan laughed and changed the topic. Let's go, we'll go now. Right, I drove here, but it can only seat 5 people. You guys take a taxi? Zhang Duopan didn't want to drag Bai Weitua even if he had a car. Besides, a car could only seat 5 people. He Meiyue's dorm room had 3 people. Including him and Fan Ganhe, it was no more and no less. As he said that, Zhang Duopan took out a car key from his pocket and said, it's so convenient to have a car now. Bai Weitua humphed coldly at Zhang Duopan's bragging. Although Zhang Duopan was obviously mocking them, the car could seat 5 people. He couldn't find anything wrong with it. Wang Xinyan, on the other hand, wanted to say something but stopped herself. She actually had a car, but she wasn't the kind of person who liked to show off. Her car was a sports car, and it was quite eye-catching. She hadn't moved it since yesterday. It wasn't good for a girl to be too flamboyant, so she said, you guys take the car, I'll accompany them. Otherwise, they won't be able to find the KTV. The KTV was found last night when Wang Xinyan's dorm went shopping. It wasn't far from here, but it wasn't close either. Driving was a little useless, but Zhang Duopan's main goal was to show off his strength, not to drive. Wang Xinyan's words made Fan Ganhe's expression change, but he couldn't do anything about it. After all, who could be Lin Yi's guide? Only Wang Xinyan was suitable. The group arrived at the parking lot. Zhang Duopan pointed at a Land Rover Aurora proudly and pressed the remote in his hand, but he didn't hear the familiar sound of the car door opening. This surprised him, but he pressed the remote again. The car still didn't respond. This phenomenon caused Zhang Duopan to be slightly stunned. Just when he was about to take a closer look at the car, another car stopped nearby, and a man and a woman got out. They looked like a rich student couple. They had just arrived, so they didn't know that Zhang Duopan was the owner of the car. The man said to the woman, "The car next to it doesn't belong to some idiot. It's been flashing all night, and now it's probably out of battery. When the driver comes, he probably won't even be able to open the door." Chapter 1884. Zhang Duopan's face darkened when he heard this. The flashlight was modified by him. Because it was connected directly to the battery, it didn't go through the car's circuit. So, it was normal to keep flashing until the battery ran out. The day before yesterday, when he drove to school, it was already evening. In order to show off his coolness, he turned on the flashlight. There was no traffic police on campus anyway, so no one would care about him. However, he forgot to turn it off when he got out of the car. In the past 2 days and nights, the battery ran out. Bro, can you help me connect the battery to the battery? Zhang Duopan turned his head helplessly and looked at the guy who just called him a dumb asterisk. Although he was scolded, he could only beg because there was only the man and woman beside the car in the parking lot at this time. Is this your car? The guy saw the owner of the car after he scolded him, and he suddenly felt embarrassed. "It's mine. Haha, sorry for making a fool of myself." Zhang Duopan said with a bitter face. "You can, but do you have electric pliers?" The guy asked. No. Zhang Duopan shook his head. Who would bring electric pliers out for no reason? It would be better to bring a spare battery. Then, I can't help it. You can call for help. I don't have it either. The guy shook his head, locked the car, and prepared to leave. Call for help? Are you kidding me? If I were to call for help here, how long would that take? Would he still practice singing? Then, let's take a taxi. Zhang Duopan shrugged awkwardly. It wasn't easy to get a chance to act cool, but the car ran out of battery before he could do it. "Oh, you guys take a taxi. We have a car," Lin Yi said as he took out the remote control for the Grand Cherokee. The lights of the Grand Cherokee not far away flashed. Zhang Duopan was extremely embarrassed at this time. He had been bragging to others about his car, but he didn't expect that. The other party also had one. Not only did they have one, but it was not inferior to his car. Although the Grand Cherokee was low-key, it was expensive. Zhang Duopan often studied cars, so he naturally knew it. Fan Ganha's face was also very ugly. Before they had cars, but now it was the other way around. Lin Yi had a car, but they had to take a taxi. Sorry, including Xianxia, there are 5 of us. Although this car has 7 seats, there are still 2 extra people. Sorry. Lin Yi looked at Zhang Duopan apologetically. The Jeep was a 7-seater, but it was modified to hold Xiaoxiao's ice coffin. Now that the coffin was removed, the seats went back to their original positions. This is nothing. What else could Zhang Duopan say? Now that things had come to this, they could only accept it. Let's take a taxi. It's also convenient. However, Zhang Duopan's words at this moment. After all, he was the one who bragged the most before, but now he could only take a taxi. Yue didn't say anything, but it was obvious that she was looking down on Zhang Duopan. She felt that Lin Yi wasn't afraid of Fan Ganha, but that he really didn't have any substantial relationship with Xinyan. From the looks of it, he wasn't someone who liked to show off. Otherwise, when Zhang Duopan said he had a car, people would have said it already. But Lin Yi only said he had a car when they got to the parking lot. Although this car was not Bai Weitua's, Bai Weitua was very refreshed, as if he had vented his anger. He said, "Some people think that they are great just because they have a car. Don't they know that cars are very common now?" Get in. Lin Yi opened the driver's door. It was a 3-seater car, but Yue and Xiaoling sat in the last row, and it wasn't too crowded. The front passenger seat was left for Xinyan. Xinyan shook her head slightly and got in the car. It seemed that these people had already decided that she and Lin Yi were a couple. Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganha looked at Lin Yi's car leave the parking lot with dark expressions. At the end of the day, they were the only ones left without a car. When they got to the school gate, Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganhe stopped a taxi and rushed to the KTV. But when they got there, He Meiyue had already started singing. Coincidentally, the two of them were singing a love song. This song was sung by Su Shihan and her teacher, so naturally, no one would think too much about it. But He Meiyue and Bai Weitua singing together, it was a bit ambiguous. Zhang Duopan looked at Bai Weitua, who sang well and was in the limelight. He began to ponder. He had already lost a lot of face today. He Meiyue must have lost a lot of her impression. If he wanted to win back this round, he might have to put in more effort. In high school, Zhang Duopan didn't have any competitors. He went to a key high school, and the school discipline was very strict. Only students like him, who came from a rich family, would play dirty tricks. The other students only focused on their studies. But it was different in university. You could have a serious relationship here, and the school and teachers wouldn't interfere. If he wanted to beat Bai Weitua, he would have to show some skills. Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan were sitting together, and this made Fan Ganhe a bit unhappy. He wanted to go over, but Xiaoling was sitting on the other side of Wang Xinyan. He didn't have a chance. Zhang bro, we need to think of something. Fan Ganhe was a strong student, but his family didn't have much money. He went to Donghai Industry University, and he was a special student. Zhang Duopan, on the other hand, was a self-funded student. His family was quite well off, and he always treated Fan Ganhe, so Fan Ganhe was willing to call him Zhang bro. Fuck, this guy came out of nowhere. Zhang Duopan looked at Bai Weitua and said angrily. It's not just that Bai Weitua, that Lin Yi. He's a fucking pig in sheep's clothing. Why didn't he say he had a car? He made a fool of you, Zhang bro. Fan Ganhe wanted to pursue Wang Xinyan, so naturally, he didn't like Lin Yi. How about this? You go get some beer, and we'll use this drinking competition as an excuse to get them drunk. It's best if we can embarrass them and make them look bad. Zhang Duopan said to Fan Ganhe. Okay. Fan Ganhe agreed immediately. It was common for them to drink in high school, and they would carry boxes of beer when they went to restaurants. It wasn't a problem for them to drink a box of beer. Fan Ganhe left the room, and after a while, he came back with 5 boxes of beer. The beer in KTV was small, but 5 boxes was a lot. 5 boxes of beer was nothing to Fan Ganhe, who was a strong student. He brought them in directly, but Zhao Shengji and Song Xiaodao's faces changed. The beauty's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full article. Chapter 1885. They could vaguely guess Zhang Duopan's intentions. Sure enough, when Bai Weitua finished his song, Zhang Duopan said, Brothers, I was late just now. I wanted to treat you, but you've already paid the deposit. I can only buy some beer as an apology. Drinking alcohol isn't too good, right? Song Xiaodao didn't have any goals here. Wang Xinyan was already taken. He Meiyue had Bai Weitua fighting for her, and Chai Xiaoling and Zhao Shengji were having a heated conversation. Song Xiaodao didn't plan to look for her here, and he didn't have a high tolerance for alcohol anyway. It's okay. We're both university students. If you don't know how to drink, you can do whatever you want. Zhang Duopan wasn't targeting Song Xiaodao, so it didn't matter if he drank or not. After that, Zhang Duopan looked at Bai Weitua provocatively and said, Brother, after singing, how about moistening your throat? Don't tell me you can't drink it, or I'll look down on you. Although Zhang Duopan didn't say it clearly, Bai Weitua understood what he meant. In front of He Meiyue, Bai Weitua was naturally unwilling to show weakness. If he were to admit defeat at this time, wouldn't he lose face? Let's drink. Who's afraid of who? Although Bai Weitua's alcohol tolerance wasn't very good, young men of his age always liked to let their emotions affect their decisions. He clearly knew that the other party was trying to provoke him, but in front of a beautiful woman, he had no choice but to take the bait. Lin Yi, the two of us? Fan Ganhe taunted Lin Yi. Lin Yi and Xinyan were sitting together, and he hadn't been able to get a word in edgewise. Now that there was a chance, he wouldn't let it go. Lin Yi didn't want to participate in this boring game, but seeing Bai Weitua's appearance, he knew that this kid wanted to see who was better. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly. Since Bai Weitua called him Big Brother, how could he ignore him? One-on-one is boring. How about this, me and Bai Weitua, We'll fight 2-on-2. Wasn't it just a drinking competition? Just say it. Lin Yi didn't hold back at all as he exposed their intentions. This made Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganhe somewhat uncomfortable. All right, let's compete in drinking. You said it yourself. Zhang Duopan said, coming up with an idea. He Meiwei and the others looked at him with disdain. No one here was an idiot, and he was smart enough to make it sound like Lin Yi was the one who took the beer, but they all knew very well who brought the beer. I told you. Lin Yi nodded. Xinyan frowned. He didn't know why Lin Yi was against Fan Ganhe. He clearly didn't like him, so there was no need for him to get involved. But now he changed his mind? Xinyan's heart tightened, and she shook her head. If it's a competition of drinking, then let's make it a bet. Otherwise, what's the point of drinking so much? Fan Ganhe was a drunkard. 1-on-1. He was afraid that Zhang Duopan would not be able to outdrink Bai Weitua, but it was 2-against-2, so they could complement each other. That was why he was so confident. What prize? Bai Weitua asked. The loser will give up on pursuing Meiwei and stay away from her. Zhang Duopan said. If you want to compete in drinking, don't use me as a wager. Who I want to be friends with is not up to you. He Meiwei frowned. She said unhappily. Bai Weitua was secretly grateful. Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganhe dared to do this, so they must have the confidence. He Meiwei was their high school classmate, so naturally, she knew how much they could drink. At this moment, He Meiwei's words were obviously for Bai Weitua. How could he not be happy? But Lin Yi felt that it was a pity. Although He Meiwei had good intentions, it was more of a hindrance than a help. Just these two? Looking at the 5 boxes of beer under his feet, Lin Yi curled his lips. If it was white, Lin Yi wouldn't have a problem. He Meiwei's words made Zhang Duopan embarrassed. She was obviously protecting Bai Weitua. Zhang Duopan didn't understand. What was so good about Bai Weitua? Why did He Meiwei protect him? Haha Meiwei, we are just joking. Isn't it boring? Let's add some atmosphere. Zhang Duopan laughed and said, let's change the prize. The loser will go to the next room, kick the door open, and curse your mother. How about it? This was obviously harming someone. If there was someone ruthless in the next room, it wouldn't be too much to be beaten up. Zhang Duopan's proposal made Bai Weitua's face change slightly. You are all drunk and you still want to curse? Zhang Duopan, can't you do something more realistic? He Meiwei was a little unhappy. Everyone comes out to play, and we are happy. Aren't you causing trouble by doing this? This wouldn't work, and that wouldn't work. Zhang Duopan really couldn't think of a prize to harm Bai Weitua. If He Meiwei retorted, wouldn't it be even more embarrassing? With that in mind he said, how about this Bai Weitua, what do you guys say? How about this, I suggest that we change the beer to white, and then we compete to see who can drink faster. The slower one will have to take off a piece of clothing. Lin Yi wanted to stand up for Bai Weitua, so he just wanted to embarrass the two. Change it to white, and see who can drink faster? Zhang Duopan frowned. He didn't know why Lin Yi suddenly suggested this. Lin Yi and Bai Weitua hadn't spoken before, and it was He Meiwei who was protecting them. It was only natural that Zhang Duopan thought that Lin Yi and Bai Weitua were afraid of them. But Lin Yi suddenly changed his attitude and suggested a stronger white, and a competition to see who could drink faster. This was a little strange. Don't dare to compete? Then forget it. We'll do as you said, you lose. Stay away from He Meiwei and Xinyan from now on. Lin Yi said faintly. He Meiwei looked at Lin Yi, a trace of confusion in her eyes. Xinyan, on the other hand, was a little shy. Lin Yi didn't deny their relationship, so why would Lin Yi stand up for her now that someone was pursuing her? Could it be that he liked her? Xinyan's calm heart rippled a little as she recalled the times he'd helped her out of trouble. Perhaps this was what they called a hero saving a damsel in distress. Too bad the damsel in distress couldn't repay him with her body. Don't dare to compete? What a joke. If Lin Yi hadn't said that, Zhang Duopan would have continued to speculate about Lin Yi's true intentions. But Lin Yi's aggressiveness put him at ease. He felt that Lin Yi was purposely trying to scare them into giving up. And so, Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganhe looked at each other, and Fan Ganhe said, white wine is good, but if we're going to drink, We should drink the Red Star Erguo with a higher alcohol content. How about it? Do you dare? The School Beauty's personal expert. Welcome readers to log in. Read the full article. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1886. By Weitua's face changed, but Lin Yi nodded. Sure. Net. Zhang Duopan and Fan Gonhe felt even more reassured after seeing Bai Weitua's face. From what they could see, Lin Yi was just being stubborn. Waiter, get me 2 bottles of Red Star Erguo. Fan Gonhe opened the door and called out to the waiter outside. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't sell that kind of alcohol here. The waiter said, embarrassed. If you don't sell it, then go buy 2 bottles for me. With that, Fan Gonhe took out 300 kuai and handed it to the waiter. Go, take the rest as a tip. Yes, sir. The waiter was overjoyed. The Red Star Erguo in the supermarket was only 10 kuai a bottle, and he'd be making 280 kuai this way. The waiter had to pay 50% as a tip, but that was still 140 kuai. It was just an errand, of course, so he was more than happy to do it. Do you want the 56 or 65? The higher the better. Fan Gonhe looked at Lin Yi provocatively and said faintly. All right, I'll go right away. The waiter turned and ran off. Fan Gonhe had drunk baijiu before, and his alcohol tolerance was pretty good. He hadn't had a 65% baijiu before, but 2 bottles of 40% baijiu wasn't a problem at all. He wasn't afraid of Lin Yi at all. As for speed, he didn't believe that Lin Yi would be faster than a sports student. Net. Xinyan, can you do it or not? Look at how confident your guy is, don't lose out. He Meiwei sat down in Lin Yi's seat and whispered to Xinyan. What do you mean, my guy? Xinyan blushed. How would I know if he can drink it or not? But he should be fine. As far as Xinyan was concerned, Lin Yi wasn't someone who would do something he wasn't confident in. Bai Weitua doesn't look like he can hold his liquor. You don't know, but that Zhang Duopan isn't that good. But that Fan Gonhe is a drunkard. He's an excellent student, and he'd go drinking with a bunch of people after training at night. He's already trained to hold his liquor. He Meiwei was a little worried. Meiwei, don't tell me you've fallen for Bai Weitua? Wang Xinyan, who had been teased by He Meiwei all this time, finally found an opportunity to tease her back. Hee, I just feel that his impression is not bad. He's not as exaggerated as Zhang Duopan. He Meiwei smiled, but she did not hide her thoughts. Wang Xinyan looked at He Meiwei, a little surprised. She suddenly realized that they were in university now, and it was completely different from high school. Dating was normal now, and even the teachers didn't care about it anymore. Who would be secretive about it? On the other hand, because she was engaged, she hadn't adapted to this environment, and she seemed to be very shy. That's true. Xinyan nodded. Xinyan, just what are you thinking? Do you like Lin Yi? If you don't, I can introduce him to my friends. Don't waste such a good opportunity, He Meiwei said with a smile. Don't. Xinyan said subconsciously, but realized that she was being too nosy. She might cause He Meiwei to misunderstand. Xinyan wanted to say that Lin Yi already had a girlfriend, but this was Lin Yi's private business. Xinyan didn't want to say too much, so she kept her mouth shut. Haha, see? You're still interested in him. He Meiwei laughed, thinking that she knew what Xinyan was thinking. At that moment, the KTV waiter came back with 2 bottles of Red Star Erguo. Fan Gonhe took it and took out 4 disposable paper cups from the cabinet, 1 for each person, and placed them in front of Lin Yi and the others. How do we drink? Zhang Duopan asked. I'll go first. Lin Yi didn't wait for Bai Weitua to speak. This level of liquor was like drinking water to Lin Yi. Lin Yi said as he took a bottle of Red Star Erguo and poured himself a full cup. I'll accompany you. Your opponent is me. Fan Gonhe followed Lin Yi's example and filled his cup. Meiwei, please be the referee. We'll start when you say start. Lin Yi raised his cup with a smile. But let's make this clear first. Don't let too much out of your mouth, and don't leave too much at the bottom of the cup, or you lose. I don't need you to tell me that. I won't go back on my word. Fan Gonhe humphed. All right, 3, 2, 1. Start. He Meiwei saw that Lin Yi was full of confidence and didn't say anything else. How agile was Lin Yi? He was an Earth-class master. As soon as Mei said the last word, the cup was already in his mouth. He raised his head and poured the liquor into his stomach. Then, he put the paper cup on the table. Wow! By way to awe Mei, and everyone else looked at Lin Yi in shock. Even Zhang Duopan couldn't help but exclaim. Because Lin Yi was drinking too fast, it was as if he was drinking water. This wasn't drinking at all. Although Fan Gonghe also drank fast, Lin Yi put down the paper cup only after everyone exclaimed. He thought that he was fast, and the exclamations were directed at him. So after he put down the cup, he said proudly, "How is it? Are you scared?" Everyone looked at Fan Gonghe strangely. Zhang Duopan blushed. He was annoyed that Fan Gonghe was sick. The other person had finished drinking, and he still said this? Fan Gonghe was waiting for everyone's praise and the sound of Lin Yi's fear. But after waiting for a long time, he didn't hear anything. He suddenly recovered from his narcissistic state and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. "Did you drink? Are your eyes not good?" Lin Yi pointed at the empty cup on the table. Gah! Fan Gonghe knew that Lin Yi had finished drinking as well. And it seemed that Lin Yi had finished drinking earlier than him. Thinking about what he said before, he suddenly blushed. But he was thick-skinned. "Ha, since you've finished, let's continue. You haven't taken off your clothes yet." Lin Yi shook his head and said, "Don't tell me you're drunk after one cup? You even forgot about the prize?" "Who said so?" Fan Gonghe took off his coat. In this autumn, people usually wore 2 coats, a coat and a shirt or t-shirt. So, it didn't affect anything after taking off one coat. After taking off his clothes, Fan Gonghe filled his cup again and took the initiative to raise it. "This is white wine. If you finish the first cup quickly, your stomach will be empty. If you drink it quickly, you will feel uncomfortable later.